Things showers continuing in the west, elsewhere mainly dry with some sunshine.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
On radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
it's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
A very good morning, everybody. This is To The Point on GB News with me, Patrick Christie's, on your TV, radio and online. And I am with you until 1 o'clock today. Yes, an extra hour for a celebration of Her Majesty with the 4 days of Platinum Jubilee events well underway. We'll make sure that you get in touch with us, of course, with your views as usual. gbviews@gbnews.uk. We'll be getting to those throughout the show. But first, it's time for the latest news.
Good morning, it's 1 minute past 10. I'm Olivia Guthrie in the GB Newsroom. The Queen will be watching today's national service of Thanksgiving on television from Windsor Castle. Her Majesty is said to have greatly enjoyed her trooping birthday parade and fly-past, but after experiencing some discomfort yesterday, she has reluctantly decided not to travel to St Paul's Cathedral. Last night, the monarch touched the Commonwealth of Nations globe, which lit the Tree of Trees outside Buckingham Palace. Royal biographer and commentator Angela Levin says it's right for the Queen to rest, but she'll be disappointed to miss today's service.
Is a devoted Christian, and this was one of the things, was going to be the main thing that she wanted to attend to. So if she can't really go to that, that's a great pity.
UK intelligence shows Russia now controls more than 90% of Luhansk in eastern Ukraine. On the 100th day of the war, the Ministry of Defence is warning Moscow could have complete control of the region in the next 2 weeks. After abandoning its assault on the capital, Kyiv, Russian forces are now focusing on the east and south of the country. Officials in Luhansk say the number of weapons provided by the West are still not enough. In the US, President Biden is urging Congress to ban assault weapons and expand background checks in the wake of another mass shooting. 4 people, including 2 doctors, were killed when a gunman opened fire at a hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma yesterday. Last week, a teenager shot dead 19 children and 2 teachers at a school in Uvalde. And during a racially motivated attack, 10 people were killed in Buffalo in New York. President Biden says enough is enough.
Guns are the #1 killer of children in the United States of America. The #1 killer. More than car accidents, more than cancer. Over the last 2 decades, more school-age children have died from guns than on-duty police officers and active-duty military combined. For God's sake, how much more carnage are we willing to accept? How many more innocent American lives must be taken before we say enough?
Back in the UK, the Ministry of Defence has been warned it could compromise national security unless it fixes or scraps its Ajax armoured vehicle programme. A parliamentary report found it was flawed from the outset. The programme, designed to build reconnaissance vehicles for the army, has been running for 12 years at a cost of £3.2 billion, but has so far failed to deliver a single deployable vehicle. Tesla CEO Elon Musk says the car manufacturer needs to cut at least 10% of its staff. In an email sent to the company's executives, which was seen by Reuters news agency, Musk says he has a super bad feeling about the economy. He's also instructed the company to pause all hiring worldwide. Earlier this week, the CEO asked Tesla employees to end remote working, giving them an ultimatum to return to the office or leave the company. The government has confirmed it wants to ditch what it's calling overbearing EU rules about imperial measurements. It's launched a consultation which may give traders more freedom to use pounds and ounces instead of kilos and grams when selling goods in future. The Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy says a review will restore common sense to the statute book. Actress Amber Heard plans to appeal the decision that she defamed ex-husband Johnny Depp. One of her attorneys says Heard has excellent grounds for the appeal, adding there was so much evidence that was not included during the trial. Johnny Depp sued his former partner over a 2018 opinion article, which his lawyers said falsely accused him of being physically and sexually abusive towards her. A jury awarded Depp over £8 million in damages. And the illustrator behind best-selling book The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse is selling some of his drawings. Sotheby's is auctioning 28 original Charlie Mackesy sketches. The ink and watercolour creations include 2 which didn't make the final cut for the book. The artist says it's a massive privilege to have his work shown by the auction house as part of a series of Jubilee exhibitions. This is GB News. We'll bring you more as it happens. Now it's back to Patrick.
A very good morning, everybody. This is To The Point on GB News with me, Patrick Christys, on your TV, radio and online. We've got a great show lined up for you to kickstart your day. So, here's what's coming up. A national service of thanksgiving will take place at St Paul's Cathedral this morning as part of the Platinum Jubilee celebrations. The Queen will not be there herself, unfortunately, though, and instead will enjoy the service from the comfort of Windsor Castle, as is indeed her right, of course. Now, our royal reporter Cameron Walker is at St Paul's. I'll be joined by loads of special guests, including the Duke of Edinburgh's great-niece, for her reflections on a remarkable monarch and her reign. We'll be getting into the swing of the Jubilee celebrations as well. Up in West Yorkshire, Pontefract Civic Society have spent 9 months planning and working towards the Jubilee. Our reporter Anna Riley will be right there for us. And we'll be having a right royal knees up. That's right, you can see me there in a bright red soft-top Jaguar E-Type, and I had an absolute belter of a day, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday. Mercy and I spent yesterday at one of the best pubs I've ever been to. In fact, the best pub I've ever been to. 900 years old, of the best of British, the Royal Standard of England. You can see what we got up to and find out how they were celebrating the Jubilee a little bit later on in the show. You're not going to want to miss that, let me tell you. There's even dogs involved. Anyway, we're the People's Channel, of course, live across the whole of the UK, on your TV and on your radio and online. You can get in touch with your views, as usual, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Yes, now, obviously, look, yesterday was, I think, a tremendous day. There were loads of elements of it that were just so glorious and so wonderful. It was a fitting tribute to Her Majesty. Her smiling face, I think, will echo down through the ages. But, of course, unfortunately, the Queen will not attend Friday's Jubilee service at St Paul's Cathedral, and that's after experiencing a little bit of discomfort while watching Thursday's parade at Buckingham Palace, apparently. So the decision was made with, quote, great reluctance, and Her Majesty will enjoy the service from the comfort of Windsor Castle instead. It does annoy me a little bit when people say that, oh, she was in great discomfort, or she's got these mobility issues. She's 96 years old, for goodness sake. She stood basically on her own on a balcony for hours. I mean, she's doing all right. Anyway, however, she did take part in the beacon lighting ceremony on Thursday evening. 4 days of celebrations marking the Queen's 70-year reign began earlier, and our 96-year-old monarch appeared twice at the Buckingham Palace balcony, flanked by the other senior royals as they watched a military parade and waved at thousands of well-wishers gathered on the Mall. I think Prince Louis's reaction probably stole the day there, didn't it? But, yes, we thought we'd do something a bit special for you here, OK? Because it is a special day. It's a special time in our history. We've only gone and got you a real-life princess. That's right. I'm very grateful to be joined by Princess Xenia of Hohenlohe-Langberg. So sorry, I've thoroughly mispronounced that, I'm afraid, but thank you very much. I'm sure you're going to correct me now. Prince Philip's great niece, the granddaughter of Philip's late elder sister, Princess Margarita. Look, thank you so much for joining us. I don't think I've ever actually interviewed royalty before, so this is an absolute pleasure. But you know the royal family rather well, don't you? Do you want to explain your connection, certainly a lot more fluently than what I just did?
No, you hit it right on the point.
Oh,
so
brilliant.
Yes. My grandmother was indeed the eldest sister of the late Duke of Edinburgh, Princess Margarita. And so therefore we are cousins once removed to the royal family, and very much obviously missing the late Duke of Edinburgh today in the celebrations. But having been very grateful, we could all come over for the memorial service earlier this year.
Indeed, and yeah, that was obviously a very sombre day, but another day of tremendous reflection, really, of British history as well, and remembering someone who's an institution in their own right. What did you make of yesterday's celebrations?
It was glorious, absolutely glorious. Obviously, sadly, based in Germany, you can only ever get a glimpse, but I did watch the entire trooping of the colours, and you always do it so beautifully, and it was perfectly executed, and the Queen was beaming when she came out into the balcony. And as you say, Prince Louis obviously stole the show. He was very charming and sweet. But I think it was a wonderful day, and I know the spirit when you're in London, when you're there, when you experience Jubilee. I was there for the 2002 Jubilee. So it's a glorious day for the country, and a great moment of gratitude to all the things that Her Majesty has done for the country.
Absolutely. And when you were younger, I believe I'm right in saying you spent quite a lot of time with, was it Harry and William, is that right?
On and off, yes, absolutely. I mean, we've been to a lot of the family events, a lot of the Christmas lunches, been to both Prince William and Prince Harry's weddings, all of the, big birthday celebrations. We've always been included, which is incredibly generous of the Queen. And so therefore there is that family link that continues, and my brother was obviously at the funeral, and some of the family members continue to come and visit at Windsor. So there is an ongoing relationship, which is lovely.
Absolutely fantastic, and long may it last. And I just want to have a quick chat with you about the Thanksgiving service that's taking place today at St Paul's. Now, the Queen obviously is a devoted Christian and would no doubt have wanted to have been there. Sadly, mobility issues or discomfort, whatever, are getting in the way of that. I just wanted to hear your take on it, really, because it annoys me, it winds me right up when people say, oh, look, she's looking frail, or they highlight the fact that she's got to use a stick. I mean, she's 96 years old, for goodness sake.
Indeed, 96 years old. And as we heard, it was with great, reluctance. I'm sure she would have loved to have been there. We just heard that she is indeed a very spiritual person, and I've experienced that in firsthand every Sunday she has. to her spiritual beliefs. And I'm sure she will find a moment for herself to potentially have a service at St. George's Chapel or go into prayer. And she's very sad. But as you said, she's 96. I mean, she's incredible. How, we can only just wish to be like that when we're 96.
Absolutely.
So, yes, I'm with you.
Can I just ask, what's your happiest kind of personal memory of the Queen?
When she's very good at telling stories and anecdotes of her travels and her meetings, and she's got an incredibly dry sense of humour. And I remember at the wedding of Prince Edward, I was lucky enough to be seated at her table. And she had us all in stitches with stories she was telling, because she just has such a sharp eye and such a great observation, and is able to then retell those stories with great sense of humor. And a lot of people don't know that about her, I think. And she's incredibly generous to family members and is always interested in hearing what you're up to as well, which again, I think people underestimate her level of detail and interest.
No, indeed, and she's obviously still very, very sharp. She doesn't appear to have lost any of her brightness. The twinkle in the eye is very, very much still there. Of course it is. And do you think she will have been absolutely delighted with the public reaction yesterday? Because one of the big things for me was that it kind of almost rejuvenated our flag. Everywhere you go in the world, there seems to always be the national flag. And over here, for a long time, I was seeing much more Ukrainian flags than British flags. I can understand that to an extent, of course, given the nature of what's going on. But I absolutely adored the fact that I couldn't move for bunting yesterday. I couldn't move for flags. You know, it was so much bunting, I was fending it off. And the Queen did that. I hope that we kind of maybe have this now, an increase in the relationship with our flag as a result of our Queen. What do you think?
I hope so. I mean, obviously, I'm not in London and I can't experience it, but it always fills me with a certain amount of, not envy, but here in Germany we don't have that. We don't have that relationship with the flag. Maybe it's historically also, tricky one because of the war. But I do think I agree with you. It does fill one with enormous pride. I think flags have, I don't know, they have that symbolic feeling that you feel quite elated when you see a lot of them, and then all the music and the celebrations. They're an incredible way of getting a nation together and filling people with positive feelings. And I think that is something that a lot of nations lack, and that's why a lot of nations look up to the British royal family above all other royal families that are still around in Europe.
Oh, indeed. And I mean, there was so much of yesterday's kind of pageantry, really, to get stuck into, wasn't there? I think arguably my personal favourite was when a man with a flaming bow and arrow fired that arrow off to a pontoon and it set fire and it lit the beacons, and then the beacons kept going. I thought, what a way to kick off. You know, that was fantastic, I thought. I mean, I'm glad he hit it, because it would have been embarrassing if he hadn't. But, no, I thought that was fantastic. What was your favourite bit, do you think? Because there was loads. Prince Louis's reaction, for example, showing how really human and childlike he really is.
Yes, I think so. I think it adds the human bit to, the incredible amount of tradition that was also in the day. And I was thinking that as I was watching, if you just think about the uniforms and the fact that it's keeping a whole industry alive of people having to sew those uniforms, of, the flags, how they made, the amount of exercise that goes into, the amount of people that you don't see on the screen that are involved in an event like that, and it keeps people going, keeps people working together on a sort of a joint mission. And I think that is something that struck me, because again, it's not something that you will find in a lot of countries.
No, of course not. Now, with one eye sadly on the future, of course, Prince Charles will be eventually taking over the reins, I suppose. And I just want to know a bit more about him, really, because you've very eloquently described a bit about the Queen there in terms of her dry sense of humour, how good at telling anecdotes she is, how generous she is. I just wonder what your view of Prince Charles is, or your experiences.
I'm an incredible fan of his, because I think, and the other day I was interviewed here in the German television about him and his life achievements. And I think, actually, it's interesting. Here in Germany, people have an incredibly high regard for all the things that he has managed to do over the years of being the Prince of Wales with the Prince's Trust. I think I was reading the amount of economic benefit the Prince's Trust is bringing to the GDP of the UK, which is something staggering of 11 billion over the last 10 years. The amount of things that he's achieved through the patronage of all of his organisation, the innovation when it comes, you know, we are all seeing this with climate change now. He's been talking about it for years and people haven't taken him seriously. And yet it actually turns out he's a visionary. And so in a way, I think the country can be very grateful that he's been Prince of Wales and the heir to the throne in waiting, because he's achieved so much because of that and not being on the throne that is often underestimated. And I think he will be a very incredible king.
Absolutely. Well, look, I just want to thank you so much for giving us so much of your time today, for coming on in the first place, frankly, and gracing the start of this show with genuine royalty. So thank you so much, Princess Xenia of Hohenlohe-Langenburg, which I think I did slightly better on there than I did the first time trying to pronounce that. But anyway, there we go. That is, of course, Prince Philip's great-niece, the granddaughter of Philip's late eldest daughter, Princess Margherita. Anyway, after the break, we'll be taking a closer look at the lives of those around the Queen as well, with one of the country's top royal biographers. That is in just a few minutes. You can keep views coming in, though. We'll go to those. GBViews at gbnews.uk. Lots of people getting in touch to actually commend the coverage that was on the channel yesterday. I was actually out at the oldest free house pub in the country. I was sent there. Okay, I didn't just wander in, but I certainly did settle in after a long day, actually. But it was fantastic. We're going to be showing you that later. But it was an array of coverage, wasn't it? And we just wanted to say thank you very much as well for tuning in for all of that. There's loads coming your way and much more. You're not going to want to miss it. It's action-packed, it's non-stop, and it's a celebration of our dear Queen. Stay tuned.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was, in fact, a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Good morning, you wonderful people. It's 10:21. This is To The Point with me, Patrick Christie's, on GB News, and we are live on your TV, online and radio this morning. Now, a service of thanksgiving at St Paul's Cathedral in central London this morning will give thanks for the Queen's 7 decades as monarch, with the Prince of Wales, of course, Duchess of Cornwall, as well as the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, all going to be in attendance. Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, are also likely to be there as well. Prince Andrew, however, has not been sent any events after the palace stated, basically, that he had tested positive for COVID. Yes, OK, fair enough. Anyway, joining me this morning is historian and indeed legend David Starkey, who has written more than 20 books on the monarchy, some looking as far back as the Middle Ages. You're not old enough to remember that, surely?
Not quite, young man. Stop patronising me.
Yeah, there we go. Well, look, where to start? I mean, obviously, look, it was unfortunate news yesterday, of course, about the Queen suffering some discomfort. As far as I'm concerned, I've made this very clear already. I think a lot of this is overblown. She's 96 years old, and she's perfectly entitled to sit down every now and again, basically. But what do you make of it? She will be disappointed not to be there.
I think more than that. The service was the music, the structure of the service is a kind of echo of her coronation. What it represents is, it's not simply, she's been here 70 years. There are echoes of that beginning. The key piece of music, wonderful piece, best piece of music there by Hubert Parry, I Was Glad, is actually written for the coronation.
Really?
Not her coronation, but the coronation of Edward VII, and that it's used again for her grandfather. She hears it for the first time when she's a young girl at the coronation of her parents, and then she walks down the Abbey to this piece of music. And the idea was she would have entered St. Paul's to that same piece of music, which is wonderful. It's about the entry into the Temple of Jerusalem. And I've handled, Patrick, it's extraordinary. I've actually handled the manuscript.
Oh, my God.
Which is kept in the archives of the Royal College of Music. And you can see, we were talking yesterday about, how immaculately everything is planned. This piece of music was actually composed to reflect the number of steps it takes from the west door of the Abbey to passing under the great screen with the organ and whatever, where the royal party disappears for the moment, and then going through into the choir and synchronising with the cry of the little choir boys, Vivat, Vivat, Vivat Regina. And you can watch how they modify the music so that it will fit.
Goodness me, that's fantastic.
So all of the music that we're going to hear is echoes of royal music, either new or old, going back to Handel, through Walton. Not as much Elgar as I would have liked. We're not having very much pomp and circumstance in this. This is all peace, justice and diversity.
The modern royal family.
The modern royal family. A bit more Prince Charles than the Queen. I don't know about you. You were going on about flags. I quite like a bit of pomp and circumstance.
I do.
And I also think what's more important is we've got the Ukraine. You were talking about Ukrainian flags. What the Ukraine shows is right needs might. Our army, our troops, they're not there for fun. No. They're not just there to parade. They're there because doing right, doing justice, sometimes needs force. And we're forgetting that.
Absolutely.
And, it's all... I find this service beautifully composed, thought through and whatever, but how can I say, it's a bit like the modern Church of England. So, it's that kind of slightly strangulated voice that's lost a bit like the Archbishop of Canterbury, who won't be there, of course, that's lost confidence in itself. And what you were talking about, I think it's going to be very important. I'm getting a feeling that's what's happening. This should be a moment of not simply thanking the Queen, but of national rediscovery. We should appreciate we're an unbelievably fortunate country. We spend times criticising ourselves, torturing ourselves for things that happened 200-300 years ago. We should, on the whole, say, we didn't do it, our ancestors did. The Queen's generation and those before. But this should be a time not simply thanking the Queen, but dare I say it, thanking God we're British.
Absolutely, yes. Couldn't have said it better myself. We are actually, if you are watching us on the television, of course, we will see now live footage from outside St. Paul's. We've seen several people entering, several dignitaries, you could say, and Tony Blair, of course. He entered there, I believe,
Sir Tony.
Sir Tony, absolutely, yes, he's in there. So who are some of the people that we are expecting to attend this?
Well, the key figure is, apart from the Queen, who isn't going to be there, and the royal party, the key figure will be the Lord Mayor of London. that this is the moment at which the real mayor of London, I don't mean the elected mayor,
no.
I mean the civic mayor of London, the mayor of the City of London. But the city has this very special relationship with the Queen, a very special relationship with the royal family. It's going to be interesting to see if the Queen had been attending, the Lord Mayor would escort her, and he would carry the sword, the pearl sword of the City of London, which is the symbol of royal justice. In other words, the sword with which people are executed. What I was talking about, force.
Yeah.
In other words, he at that point becomes, as it were, the agent of the Queen. He admits her to the city. The monarch, again, asks, in a sense, permission to enter her city. Because the City of London made and unmade monarchs in the Middle Ages, and they have these very high privileges. And when the whole service is over, the family will go to the Guildhall of the City of London for the reception. And, of course, they'll be in the presence of all the greats of British history. The statues of Nelson, the statues of Wellington, the statues of the Pitts, the great figures of, dare one say, empire.
Oh, don't you dare. On today of all days. You're going to get us all cancelled. No, of course not. But
that was the whole purpose of this channel.
well, in a way, I suppose. But no, it really is a tremendous day. And the Queen will presumably be watching at home.
We've been told she'll watch from Windsor, which is what she regards as home. She's apparently a great fan of television. I'm sure she's very adept with the remote controller.
Well, I'm sure she's probably watching now.
Yeah, I doubt it, but it'd be nice to think so, wouldn't it? Yeah, following up a Serene Highness talking to you from Germany with Her Majesty watching from Windsor would be a very nice thought. But she's, I gather, very adept with the remote controller. So if we're boring her, she once told me I was boring her.
Is she? Go on, talk to me about that.
Well, it's a lovely story.
Better not be dull.
We've all been hearing about, how wonderfully sunny her mood always is. Of course her mood isn't always sunny. I was taking her around the exhibition for Elizabeth I, the monarch after whom she's named, and she'd had a bad day. And we hadn't supplied the right drink. We hadn't supplied her gin and dubonnet, and she was kept waiting for that. So she was in a pretty black mood. And she manifestly wasn't very interested in the exhibition. I pulled back. I dealt with Prince Philip, who was always very difficult because he told you what he was looking at, and he was always half right and half wrong. And you never, anyway. But towards the end of the exhibition, she came up with it's really good. It's a rather funny story. She came up with a terrible portrait of Queen Elizabeth I, which showed her completely covered in bows. And she I'll explain in a minute. She turned to the chap who was showing her around, who was the director of the exhibitions, and said, "Why is she wearing so many bows?" And he said, "I'm terribly sorry, ma'am. I don't know. I'm going to have to ask Dr. Starkey." Oh.
No.
I then said, "I don't want to bore you, ma'am." "No, you're not boring us now."
Oh, there we go.
And it was a magnificent put down. And then I thought, OK, I'm not going to be put down. So I then explained that all royal uniform, all royal clothes in that period were held together by bows. And she said, just like the garter. I hate wearing the garter.
Well, there you go. All right. I mean, it's a fascinating story, really, actually, and certainly wasn't boring for us, I think, listening to it. But, I mean, do you think, though, that the Queen... I mean, she will obviously be gutted, won't she, at the minute that she's not there, presumably, and...
No, I don't think so. I think it's quite clear. You were talking about her being a Christian. I think she knows the reality of ageing. She knows the reality, to be blunt, of death. She is manifestly preparing to hand over. I mean, the things that she's done very recently, the decision which breaks every precedent, every rule, that the Prince of Wales would read the Queen's speech in Parliament. That has never happened before.
Yes,
he did it very well. He did it very formally. He's a good public speaker, much better public speaker than she is.
Yeah.
He's never been very good at it.
Just very quickly, because we're nearly out of time. But do you think it's a bit of a blessing in disguise that Prince Andrew has COVID and he won't be here?
It may well be a diplomatic illness. And also, shall we stop talking about him? He doesn't matter very much.
OK.
Meghan and Harry don't matter.
No, I've actually swerved them so far.
They're minor members of the family. The line of succession is clear. We're very fortunate that it is, and we have 3-4 generations stretching out, all of whom, including the little kids, look as though they're learning to do it properly.
Just on that note, I know you're a very distinguished chap with an incredible track record, and a very serious broadcaster, of course, but you couldn't do me a little Prince Louis impression, could you, from the balcony yesterday?
I think we'll draw the line.
There we go. I knew I'd break him.
You are nearer to his age.
I knew I'd break him. There we go. All right, David, thank you so much. David Starkey, I think you'll be dipping in and out, as it were, over the course of the show, I believe. But anyway, after the break, we will be live in West Yorkshire, where preparations for a huge Jubilee party are underway.
Good morning, it's 10:32. I'm Olivia Guthrie in the GB newsroom. The Queen will be watching today's national service of Thanksgiving on television from Windsor Castle. Dignitaries have started arriving at St Paul's Cathedral, where they'll be joined shortly by the royal family. Her Majesty reluctantly decided not to attend after experiencing some discomfort during Jubilee celebrations yesterday. Prince Philip's great-niece, Princess Xenia, says the monarch will be disappointed to miss the service.
She is indeed a very spiritual person, and I've experienced that in firsthand. Every Sunday she has one of the members of the clergy for lunch, and she spends a lot of time, dedicated to her spiritual beliefs. And I'm sure she will find a moment for herself to potentially have a service at St George's Chapel or go into prayer. And she's very sad, but as you said, she's 96. I mean, she's incredible.
In other news, UK intelligence shows Russia now controls more than 90% of Luhansk in eastern Ukraine. On the 100th day of the war, the Ministry of Defence is warning Moscow could have complete control of the region in the next 2 weeks. After abandoning its assault on the capital, Kyiv, Russian forces are now focusing on the east and south of the country. The US President is urging Congress to ban assault weapons and expand background checks in the wake of another mass shooting. 4 people, including 2 doctors, were killed when a gunman opened fire at a hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma yesterday. Last week, a teenager shot dead 19 children and 2 teachers at a school in Uvalde. And during a racially motivated attack, 10 people were killed in Buffalo in New York. The government has confirmed it wants to ditch what it's calling overbearing EU rules about imperial measurements. It's launched a consultation which may give traders more freedom to use pounds and ounces instead of kilos and grams when selling goods in future. TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News.
Direct Bullion sponsors the Finance Report on GB News for gold and silver investment.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound is 1.257 to the dollar and 1.169 to the euro. And the price of gold currently stands at £1,482.80 per ounce.
Direct Bullion sponsors the Finance Report on GB News, investments that matter.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Oh, yes. Hello, everybody. Now, it's great to have you all on board for what is such an important day in British history, isn't it? And we are showing you now live images from outside St Paul's. So the Queen will be watching today's National Service of Thanksgiving on television from Windsor Castle. And that's, of course, due to suffering some discomfort yesterday. I'll be talking a bit about that later on. I wasn't very happy with the way that some other outlets reported that, certainly at the top of the 10 o'clock news, almost kind of giving the impression that the Queen was letting us down. I mean, that really, really wound me up, actually. But anyway, dignitaries have started arriving at St Paul's Cathedral, where they'll be joined by the royal family. Her Majesty obviously reluctantly decided not to attend after experiencing that discomfort during the Jubilee celebrations yesterday. Prince Philip's great-niece, Princess Xenia, says that the monarch will be disappointed to miss this service. And, of course, as the nation celebrates our Queen on her Platinum Jubilee, Pontefract in West Yorkshire is getting into the swing of things. However, we're just going to go to that very, very shortly. What we're going to do right now is just stay focused on St Paul's, because people are starting to arrive. St Paul's, David, is a really fitting venue for this, isn't it? I mean, there's nothing else quite like it, is there?
No, and in one sense, it's built for this purpose.
Right.
What we're looking at now is the Great West Portico of St Paul's, this huge processional entrance to it. And in front of it, there's a statue of an earlier queen, of Queen Anne, and it's in her reign that the practice of holding these great celebrations in St Paul's in that building begins. So under her, of course, they're celebrating military victory. This is the repeat. These are the repeated victories over France, and she was processing there virtually every year. It's, you know, when Winston Churchill's great ancestor, the Duke of Marlborough, was leading the troops of Britain and her allies to great victories like Blenheim and whatever. But she also celebrates something that's very material now. Queen Anne celebrates the union in 1707 between England and Scotland. The grandest of those ceremonies is to celebrate the peaceful, non-dominating union. The union of two countries that they were very different in size, very different in power, united as equals in a partnership. And it was peaceful, there was no violence, and it was... Queen Anne herself says that she regards it as the greatest victory of the reign. So now we're seeing another monarch, as it were, victorious over time.
Yes, now, David, if people are just joining us, you can listen to us, of course, on radio, you can see us online, or you can see us on your TV. We are outside St Paul's now. This is, of course, the Thanksgiving service. Sadly, the Queen will not be in attendance. But, David, run us through the order of events as we know it so far. What's going on?
Well, what's going on is people are arriving. You see, actually, the bodyguards. You see the ones that we saw yesterday, the people we always think of, you know, the chaps with the bearskins.
Yes.
But we'll see two other... What's in this service, Patrick, is a memory going back across time. The Queen herself said...
Sorry to interrupt, David. Just to say it's the arrival there of Boris Johnson, Carrie alongside him as well. They're making their way up the steps.
Right, the wonderful moment. Shall I tell you what Boris has been given to read?
Well, go on, here we go.
Boris has been given to read the following. Finally, beloved, whatever is true, whatever is honourable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. If you devise that as a piece of satire, it would be impossible to do better.
Is that a deliberate thing?
I am reading from the service.
No way.
That is the lesson from the epistle to the Philippians that is going to be read by the absolutely immaculate, altogether pure Prime Minister.
Squeaky clean Prime Minister.
Squeaky clean Prime Minister. You see, this illustrates, Patrick, why we need a monarch. You can have a Prime Minister that we can laugh at, that we can...
I like Boris Johnson.
Okay, I voted... Yeah, I can see he's your type of chap. But,
thank you very much.
But I voted for him. I'm a Tory party member, as I'm compulsory at GBNews, but there we are. But we can all laugh at him. We can see his faults and foibles because we've got this thing which is this person, this institution, which is the real bedrock of loyalty. But just going back to the front there, what we're going to see is, I was saying, the Queen talked about it as memory. This is a kind of collective memory. So you'll see people there that go right back. You were saying, my business in medieval history. Yeah. You'll see the original bodyguards of the monarchs. Really? You will see the yeomen of the guard. They are founded by Henry VII. They're going to be in attendance. You will see something you'll have never heard of. You'll have heard of the yeomen of the guard, the Honourable Band of the Gentlemen at Arms. Now, you've never heard of those, have you? They're founded by Henry VIII. Henry VIII was determined to cap his father. So, whereas the yeomen of the guard are relative, a bit like you, the bit down market like me.
Thank you and me. So they're in the gutter, they're a bit low rent, cheaper, some would say, cheaper, more accessible.
They're also real fighters, and you were talking about archers. They were originally archers. But the gentlemen pensioners are a cut above, they're upper class, and if you actually see them now, they're all unbelievably antique. Most of them look older than the Queen, but they're very distinguished soldiers, generals, and this kind of thing, and they have halberds. Which were their original weapon, and as you'll see, they will form an extraordinary... It's a sense of age paying respect to age. So there are these layers of things in the service, in the same way the music layers. All the music has got some sort of royal association. So there'll be pieces by Handel. There'll be pieces we forget. Mendelssohn was a great favourite of Victoria and Albert. There'll be music by him. Yes. There are echoes of Elgar, as I said, not enough, but there's Holst's wonderful Jupiter from the planets. There's William Walton, who, like my family, a lad from Oldham, becomes Order of Merit and Master of the Queen's Music. But it's not as great. It's not the brassy stuff, which it's not pomp and circumstance.
Well, I'm a bit disappointed in that.
I am
not that I've got any right to be, of course, but I like the pomp and ceremony.
Me too.
I like it kind of a bit on the nose, as it were. And it's not that, is it? It's a bit more subtle. You were saying that it's a little bit more about...
touchy-feely.
Touchy-feely, yes. And is this, do you think, a way of trying to rebrand the modern royal family?
I think we are seeing a rebranding. I mean, I have... The princess, or rather, she isn't. She's a Serene Highness.
Sorry, get it right.
Xenia she's only, as it were, that middle ground between the German aristocracy and real monarchy. But what she was talking about was how much Prince Charles is regarded in Germany, which is wildly environmental. But there is a problem, isn't there? Environmentalism is going to become a major political issue.
Well, it is.
Because it's going to impose vast costs. And, again, the whole business of diversity is not at all straightforward. And there's a real risk, I think, in the anxiety to make the monarchy relevant, you make it too political.
Well, absolutely.
I don't want to sour this moment.
No,
it would be inappropriate to do so.
You seamlessly led us on to the exact same thing that I want to talk to us about next. Just as we are, if you're just joining us, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are showing you live pictures from outside St Paul's. The Thanksgiving service is due to start shortly. The royals are soon to arrive, so we're going to be bringing that live for you as and when they do, so don't go anywhere. But I just want to raise with you something you said about environmentalism becoming a very politicised issue and an ever-increasing issue. And, of course, animal rights activists yesterday did try to do their best to ruin...
To wreck.
Yeah, to wreck the occasion.
And what I think is disgrace... You were talking about bad press coverage.
Yes.
What I thought was absolutely shocking was that the Times reported in detail their manifesto. Now, why? They wanted the publicity. Why devote an entire page to it? It just seems to me to be inappropriate. It is crass. It is badly thought through. It gives people publicity who don't deserve it. And frankly, it may be the Times. It was deeply inappropriate to the day.
Well, that lot is just an absolute out-and-out menace, as far as I can gather, really. I mean, they see a nice occasion, they see a happy occasion,
They want to ruin it for everybody.
Do we know what's happening now? Yeah, talk us through this, David.
That's a Lord Mayor. He is wearing it. We were talking about the Tudors. He's got his mace bearer coming behind, wearing the funny fur hat. It's important to remember who is who. The important chap is in the purple cloak with the ermine cape. And what he's got round his neck is the chain of the House of Tudor, the great SS chain that represents sovereign, and you'll see hanging from it, there'll be a pair of portcullises and then a Tudor rose, and it is actually a real Tudor chain. That has been in use since the reign of Henry VIII.
Fantastic stuff. Well, we're going to go now to our royal reporter.
And you can see, so he's got a mace there, and he's got the sword of the city.
Absolutely. Now, here's someone that you know rather well, David. I believe you spent most of the day sat next to our royal reporter.
Oh, he was great.
Yes, there you go. Cameron Walker, who joins us now from outside St Paul's. Cameron, I'm surprised you're awake after the marathon stint that you had yesterday, but what have you got for us? Yeah,
Hi, David. Hi, Patrick. Yes, I'm surprised as well, to be honest, but here I am outside St Paul's Cathedral before the service of Thanksgiving for Her Majesty the Queen, celebrating 70 years, of course, on the throne. Now, the Queen, I've been told, well, is not going to be here at St Paul's Cathedral. She experienced some discomfort yesterday during trooping the colour and decided to pull out. We know she's had kind of episodic mobility problems, and I think perhaps to you or I that means she has some good days and bad days with her mobility. But I do understand that she is going to be watching it on the television from Windsor Castle. Now, the Prince of Wales is going to be processing into the cathedral shortly, probably in around 10-15 minutes' time, along with the Duchess of Cornwall, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge as well. Before that, we are expecting the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry and Meghan, to arrive alongside the Wessexes and extended members of the royal family. I have also been told that Duke and Duchess of Sussex is going to be sat in the second row of the congregation alongside Princess Beatrice and Eugenie, and their husbands, who are Prince Andrew's two daughters, and in front of them will be the Earl and Countess of Wessex, and then of course we'll have the senior members of the royal family very much on the front row. Now, the Duke of York, Prince Andrew, will not be in attendance. He has coronavirus and therefore will not be here, and neither will the Archbishop of Canterbury, who was due to read the sermon here at St Paul's Cathedral later today. So the Archbishop of York is going to be taking his place.
Thank you very, very much. Cameron Walker there, of course, our royal reporter, right outside St Paul's Cathedral, where the service of Thanksgiving is due to take place in central London this morning. It's a slightly overcast setting, I think, is it, at the moment? But, of course, I'm sure the sun will come out in force later on. The weather yesterday was absolutely magnificent, David. You couldn't have pictured a better day, really, for it, could you, David?
No, it was extraordinary. In fact, we were all worried we were going to get sunburn.
Well, I did. So I did.
We were getting worried we were going to get sunburn.
I actually spent all day, we'll show you a bit of this later on, but I was at the Royal Standard of England pub. I don't know if you've ever been, David, but it's the best pub I've ever been to, and let's be honest with you, I've tried a few. But it was...
What were you paid?
No, I wasn't. I tell you what, I'd pay all sorts to go there. It was absolutely magnificent. But because there's a lot hanging around, as you well know, when you're doing an all-day broadcasting event, it never entered my head that I might end up getting sunburn. And I got into bed last night, I was like, gosh, my face feels funny. And beneath this, several layers of Max Factor, I'm afraid. We've got what looks like a...
You're bright red,
like
are you?
Plum. Yeah, but there we are anyway. But so you were obviously right outside yesterday, weren't you? You were
on the west lawn of the palace.
We
had this staggering view right over the forecourt of the palace. The thing that one thing I thought was wrong.
Yes,
having that great ugly stage right, for the pop concert right in front of the palace. It spoilt the views of people. It spoilt how the palace is supposed to work. That great area in front of the palace around Queen Victoria's monument is designed to have people coming right up to the railings. And because of the stage, they had to be kept back. And the whole point of that arrangement is to bring the people the Queen's subjects as close to her as possible. And it didn't work. It was trying, I think, to do too many things in the same place.
Yes, and I can understand why that mistake may have been made, because there's a lot on, let's be honest, and people are here, there and everywhere. What was your favourite moments of the day? Can I just say when... I actually had to kind of catch it on my phone because I was obviously out and about and I just didn't want to miss this particular moment. And it was when the Queen just first came onto the balcony.
Agreed.
Oh, I've got a big tear to my eye now, actually.
When she was alone, effectively, with just the Duke of York, I mean, I thought, and this little old woman with her stick, acknowledging this vast crowd, I mean, that was the symbol.
Yes.
People kept, this awful word, iconic. They keep on going about iconic moments. I don't think, for example, the official portrait of her that's been produced is particularly interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think
the photograph at Windsor, she just looked like any other distinguished old lady.
Yes.
But that scene on the balcony, I shall remember that.
Yeah.
I saw the coronation as an 8-year-old boy, first time I'd seen television. I have moments of that. Again, particularly the scene that is, reproduced when the carriage is going to be processed as part of the pageant, which is an extraordinary smile. But this young woman alone, you see, she begins her reign alone because she's crowned alone.
It's very symbolic, all of this, isn't it? There's the little touches of this detail.
I think it's been completely thought through.
It has.
It's a sense almost, we don't want to talk about death.
No, of course.
It's a sense of a life being wrapped up.
This is it, and I'm glad you've said that, actually, because it's such a difficult topic to kind of articulate correctly, because you don't want to be insensitive, you don't want to focus on a very sad moment, on what is a very happy occasion. But in case you are just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, we're at St Paul's at the minute. Well, I'm not physically, but we've got the cameras at St Paul's at the moment, and we're expecting the royals to arrive, of course, for this service of Thanksgiving very, very shortly. We'll be bringing you all of the latest on that. But yes, I just wanted to say something you said before about this wonderful symmetry, really, to the order of events today. So St Paul's, there was the coronation, of course, where and there's a particular song as well, a composition of music, isn't there, David? It's very special.
It's called the Introit. So when the royal party, actually, which will now presumably be the Prince of Wales, when he enters the Abbey, he will be listening to the music that he will... Sorry, when he enters St Paul's, he will be listening to the music that he will hear when he goes to be crowned.
Right.
So there's this extraordinary...
Goodness
you see what
me.
I mean? This sense of, from generation to generation, the handover, the pieces of music that echo across time, the sense of place. Because, again, we're talking about the Queen's mobility. Victoria had exactly the same problem of mobility. For her, she only gets to her Diamond Jubilee, of course. She only gets to 1897. And do you know what they did then? She didn't even go into they took her there, and they could have done this with the Queen. She went there in a carriage, and the carriage parked outside the cathedral, and in the same way yesterday, the changing of the guard came to the Queen. So the service came to the Queen, and they did the service on the steps of the cathedral with the choir boys, and the Queen listened to it in her carriage, so she didn't need to get out. There was no problem of mobility. And then she drove off. And what everybody noticed was the choir boys scattered and went down and picked up the pebbles where the carriage had been as kind of holy relics. It was extraordinary moment.
That's incredible. And what people don't realise as well, necessarily, are all the really subtle little touches. We know the ones that are there that are quite on the nose, as it were, but the amount of thought that goes into every little thing, even down to, items of jewellery, etc., that even minor royals wear, right? And that really, I think, is an inherently British thing. It's a very classy thing, isn't it?
Well, it's not only just British, it's royal generally.
It's royal, yes.
The Poet Laureate has just done a piece on the Queen's Jubilee, and he said he was inspired by watching what I was talking about, the film of the coronation.
Well, you've inspired many.
He's far too young to have seen it as I did. But what he said was he was astonished by it because it looked like a Japanese coronation. Now, all monarchies, all great monarchies do this. We, I think, and the Japanese do it best.
As in the Japanese?
And the Japanese monarchy is even older than ours.
Yes.
But again, it's this extraordinary continuous history across time. We should really be looking at the front down there.
I think if we can,
the troops are beginning to line up. Something's happening.
Something's about to happen
in Oldham. Yes.
Yes, indeed. Okay, again, if you're just joining us, we're at St Paul's. The bells have just started to ring. And what's the significance of the bell ringing?
Bell ringing is one of the ways that you celebrate, and it's also one of the ways you mourn. The tolling of a bell signifies mourning. This extraordinary chiming of the bells is the beginning of us ringing the changes of bells, is a form of celebration which goes back to the Middle Ages. We're hearing the biggest bell in England striking now, and here is the presumably.
So what we can see now is a convoy, really, I suppose. Lots of security, of course. The kind of infamous Range Rover in the middle, and one would expect that this contains our royals, would you?
Well, he doesn't have a standard.
So maybe not then.
Look, I can't see. One of them is.
Let's have a we'll bring you the latest when we know it on that. But it does appear that seriously there's some quite significant movement towards St Paul's Cathedral. Anyway,
and as they say, an important group.
It is. Yes, it will be. So yes, well, they should be arriving at St Paul's just in any second. And what we can see now again is the crowds of people, thousands of people lining the streets of the capital city, and that really is an incredible thing. And I hope this brings people together.
Yeah, and of course this area again, it's very important. We were talking about Prince Charles. This area is completely reconstructed, effectively at the insistence of Prince Charles. It was rebuilt after the Second World War in hideous modern architecture, and he inspired a much more gracious and much more elegant. It is actually the arrival of the Prince.
So this is the arrival of?
I think it must be the Prince. The Lord Mayor is standing there.
There we go. Well, we'll see. So they're getting out of the car now, so we'll bring you the latest very, very shortly, of course. But you can see as well the Lord Mayor standing there waiting for their arrival, and everyone in there. The bearskin hats are there as well.
No, that was the Duke of Gloucester.
The Duke of Gloucester. This is it. It's always fascinating, isn't it, when you have these events, trying to play a kind of who's
No, sorry,
who.
it isn't the Duke of Gloucester. My apologies, Duke of Kent.
The Duke of Kent. There we go. It's always interesting, isn't it? I think when you're.
No, that is. We're now at the Duke of Gloucester. Sorry, they're switching shots from place to place. There's the Duke of Gloucester.
Okay, great. And so, what can we expect now then?
Well, there'll be ascending, and the Duke of Kent. There'll be an ascending order of precedence.
Gosh. Yes. Okay. Ascending order of precedence. Right. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
And
sorry, that I think was Prince. I am losing track. I think that I can't.
All right,
I cannot see. I'm sorry, my spectacles are not
Don't
working.
worry about it at all.
No. One likes to get things right. And the rest of them are in a bus. You see, this is. Watch. These are the royals in a bus.
The big royal bus, yes. And again, slightly more minor.
Remember, that was actually pioneered, I think, for the wedding of Kate and William. I laughed my head off as the assembled royalties of Europe got out of a bus.
Got out of a bus, yeah.
Got out of admittedly, a luxury coach bus, but it was very funny.
No, still, I mean, yes, so we're going to be seeing the arrivals throughout. And this would indicate, wouldn't it, that we are getting very, very close to the beginning of proceedings. Do we have a specific time that we're due to get started?
Oh, well, the service is due to start at 11:30.
OK.
But, I mean, again, I terribly sorry, I haven't been briefed, as they say. Yes, we need Cameron at this point.
Okay.
He would be much better used telling us who all these are. We've got the Tyndall.
We've got Mike Tyndall, Zara Phillips, looking very pretty in pink, it must be said as well. There's a big pink theme amongst the royals, actually.
Well, it was set yesterday, wasn't it, by Carrie?
Yes.
A war that wore the bold pink. Yeah.
OK, David, your wish has been granted. You've wished for Cameron Walker, longed for him. And we've got him now, our royal reporter.
He should be doing the identification. Okay, it's his job, not my job.
OK, all right. Cameron Walker, you there? Our royal reporter at St Paul's Cathedral. Hello, Cameron. What's going on for us, please?
Hello, Patrick. Yes, I am here. Hello, Patrick. Yes, I am here. So we have just had Great Paul, the Great Bell, the biggest bell in the country, start chiming. It's the first time, for a royal event at least, that it has chimed since its restoration last year. Boris Johnson We've seen Home Secretary Priti Patel. We've seen former Prime Ministers, Tony Blair. We've seen Gordon Brown. We've seen the First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, and Sir Keir Starmer, the Labour leader. I haven't seen any royals arrive yet from my position, but do correct me if I am wrong. But there is a huge crowd of public outside as well. Similar to the Mall, they've draped over Union flags over the barriers and have been waving their support, and I occasionally hear them cheer from outside, celebrating Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. So a great atmosphere down here, Patrick.
Thank you very much. Can I just ask, what's the kind of atmosphere like around where you are, Cameron? Because we were seeing thousands and thousands of people lining the streets just awaiting the arrivals of the royals and the start of this service of Thanksgiving.
So I'm round the side. I think I'm kind of like the south entrance of the cathedral. But the main crowd is definitely by the Great West Door, which is where the members of the royal family and VIP guests are arriving. But even behind me, which you won't be able to see, the crowd is 2, maybe 3 people deep, with many Union flags, clearly just hoping to catch a glimpse of members of the royal family. I have seen a police escort come past me probably about 10 minutes ago, who contained some members of the royal family. I think they're extended members of the royal family. I didn't quite see who they were, because they were going too quickly. But I think perhaps we will start to see members of the royal family, senior members, come down this street behind me. So we need to stay tuned for that, Patrick.
Thank you so much for bringing us that. We can now just see on our footage there that there is what appears to be another convoy arriving, and so we'll be...
Right. Look, if you look at the third car there, you've actually got the coat of arms.
OK. Yes, you do indeed. Yes, you can see that. And, of course, it's now sending the crowd wild, really, as they line in the streets there, just outside St Paul's.
Will it be Princess Anne? They arrive in order of precedence.
OK, all right. Have you ever... you must have met Princess Anne, I take it?
Yes, not frequently. I mean, I wouldn't claim to know any of them well, but I've encountered... We were talking about the Prince of Wales and the Prince's Trust. I've been was heavily involved in the Prince's Teaching Trust. Myself and Simon Sharma actually launched the original meeting of it. And here again, you can see... these are the state roles, is this magnificent high structure designed so that people can see inside, and you have the coat of arms at the front there.
Yeah, just describe that car in a bit more detail for us, actually. So it's a Rolls-Royce.
They're Rolls-Royces. What the fleet of royal cars? Yes, look, it's Princess Anne. I was right. They're arriving in order of precedence, and with Commander well, he's now a knight with her husband, and the cars begin in the reign of Edward VII. Edward VII, Victoria's son, is a motoring fanatic. He drives down himself. The speed limit's tiny. He drives down to Brighton, shattering the speed limit. He is the one who pioneers the maroon livery. And again, very interestingly, he debated, when he had his coronation in 1902, he debated, you can see now the Earl and Countess of Wessex and their children.
Yes.
He's wearing mourning dress. They're wearing mourning dress, not uniforms, but you can see...
Why is that, sorry? Why would they not be wearing uniforms? Is there a particular reason?
Because this is an essentially civilian occasion.
Right. OK, well, fair enough. That makes sense.
I don't know what the Prince of Wales will wear. Again, it will be striking to see.
I must say, it is interesting, isn't it, to see all this pomp and, well, not pomp really, but ceremony anyway, I suppose. And then there's a Five Guys burger house just in the background. It shows the contrast.
But it's real.
The contrast of London, doesn't it?
Exactly. And the fact that this is happening in and the Duke of York's daughters and their husbands, again being greeted by the Lord.
Now, there's 2 big names have just arrived. It's Harry and Meghan.
And again, you see, it also gets us out of the awkward problem of what Harry would wear. He's just wearing mourning dress.
I understand. OK, I see.
So I would imagine that some thought, as they put it mildly, some thought has been given to all of these things. And again, now this is very striking. Look how comparatively underdressed Meghan is.
Indeed.
Somebody had a gentle
She's wearing,
word.
just to say for our radio listeners, Meghan is basically wearing, I'd say, an off-white, a plain off-white dress with a slightly whiter shade of hat, and that's it. There doesn't appear to be any jewellery, as far as I can tell, apart from the earrings.
It's very plain, very simple, almost as though, dare one say it, she's learned her order of place in the order of
Whisper it quietly, Xavier. Whisper it quietly.
I never whisper quietly. I believe in booming from the rooftop. But I thought, that again, it shows a respect.
Indeed.
It shows a sense of place within the family, which is very nice to see.
And I must say, Harry and Meghan did look incredibly relaxed there, and they were very chatty. They seemed quite jovial, if anything.
Yes.
None of this, I suppose, nervousness or anger, I suppose, that we've seen in the past. And I thought, just quickly, while we're waiting for some more royals to arrive at St Paul's Cathedral, what did you make of their, I don't want to say performance yesterday, but their measured performance at that? They were seen in those pictures kind of shushing the children, weren't they?
Well, I think it was a human family. Again, that's one of the remarkable things about monarchy. There is both pomp and circumstance and there's humanity. There's, young kids who, even on grand occasions, misbehave a bit.
Absolutely.
And they didn't misbehave badly, but there was that sense, right, these are human children. They're not marionettes. They haven't got some severe nanny wringing their arms behind their backs. Well, they may have.
Well, they may have,
They were carefully concealed.
That's it. But do you think that's something we're going to see more and more of going forward? Because especially in this age now of the internet, for example, royals potentially in the past, I'm not saying that they were, but they could have been more sheltered. Whereas now, I think the reality of life and access to the reality of life has never been easier. Do you think we're going to see an increasingly more quotes-unquote normal side of the monarchy as these younger generations come
I think it quite likely. I mean, there are real risks about that, of course, because the normal side is they will become teenagers, and we all know how teenagers normally behave.
Yes.
And if you think of the problems, for example, with Blair's children, Ewan has turned out to be an admirable young man who's become even richer than his father.
Fabulously wealthy young man.
and just got a rather junior honour and whatever. But Jack Straw's son, and it is teenage, youth, being a student, can be very problematic. But remember, what's going on now is going full circle. In the Middle Ages, which, as you said, I vividly remember, the monarchy was exposed in exactly the same way. That the monarch really didn't know privacy. That there was a great royal officer who attended him or her when they were using the lavatory. The office, I discovered its importance, the office called the Groom of the Stool. And we have dukedoms that descend from this position. So there is, again, the picture that we had of what went on in Downing Street, which was exposed to us during the COVID crisis. That extraordinary sense of everybody in it together. The royal court used to be like that.
Really?
The court surrounding a Henry VIII or a Queen Elizabeth. There was that extraordinary quality of both majesty and face-to-face intimacy. We should be seeing the arrival of Prince of Wales very soon.
So Prince of Wales will be arriving very shortly. Again, if you are just joining us on your TV, on your radio, you can watch us online as well. We are giving you coverage from St Paul's Cathedral, outside St Paul's Cathedral, as we await for this national service of thanksgiving being held at St Paul's. David, what are you most thankful towards our Queen for? What are you most grateful for about her?
I think this is now, I'm going to be banal, but I think it's important. She literally has been in this age of gigantic change. Remember, I have lived through her reign completely.
Yes.
And I reflect back on that year of 1953, the fact that most of the globe was still coloured pink. Extraordinary, isn't it? We chose to colour our empire pink.
Yes.
Can't imagine why. She swore to serve the empire. And the gap from then till now, but she has been what she had to be, a figure of continuity, of stability, but at the same time, the subtle changes, the indication. There was a lovely moment when I did Mark Stein's programme last night, and he showed the banknotes as they go across with that extraordinary pretty young woman. I mean, staggeringly attractive young woman. And then the first wrinkles appear, the beginnings of early middle age, a little bit of spread, as motherhood comes. And that extraordinary sense of monarchy being a human face of power, a human face of government.
Well, talking of the human face, I'd quite like to just humanise this a bit now and enter into a bit of a conversation with you at home, you the listener, or the viewer, of course, and ask you what you're most thankful for about our dear Queen. Of course, it is a national service of Thanksgiving. It's due to take place at St Paul's. We're expecting that it may well get underway very, very shortly. But in the meantime, I'd like to hear from you. GBviews at gbnews.uk. What are you most thankful for? What are you most grateful for when it comes to our dear Queen? Because, of course, we are really now celebrating her Platinum Jubilee, aren't we? And I want to hear from you, OK? I really, really, really want to know what's kind of essentially your fondest memories, but what you're most grateful for, because there's a lot to be grateful for, isn't there? And right now, OK, fair enough, we're outside St Paul's Cathedral. But right now, David, up and down the country, there'll be bunting everywhere. People will be having street parties and garden parties and having a very merry old time, won't they? We're focusing in on St Paul's. But I'll tell you what, this really is going on right across the country.
Yes, of course. And it's been clearly a very important concern of the organisers of all of this. I mean, obviously, London is the heart. Westminster, the city, is the heart of the country. But the heart is only one of a large number of other organs. There's much
Absolutely.
Of the rest, there is much of the rest of England. And I think it's been remarkable, that sense of broadening participation. Again, it's exactly the same that happened with the coronation. I mean, you were talking about bunting. Let me tell you my story.
I'm mad for bunting.
Let me tell you my story about bunting in Kendal, in Westmoreland in 1953. Right? I was born there.
Small world.
Do you know what the bunting was made of? Because in those days, you know, we were just recovering from rationing. It was made from the wrappers of Mother's Pride sliced bread. The most vile, flowery stuff on God's earth. But anyway, I hope they don't advertise on.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Otherwise,
brands
Starkey gets pulled off his stool. But never mind. But they did waxed. The bread used to come in a waxed paper wrapper, and they printed it with Union Jacks. And what you had to do is you had to fold it diagonally, and it made a little pennant, and then women spent hours cutting these things, sticking them on and stringing them, because, you know...
But that was back with a mend and make do attitude as well. And that's one thing I'm worried that we may have lost.
You look at the parties, they're doing exactly the same.
OK, oh, there you go. OK, yeah, they are, I suppose, actually. We're just going to go back now to the wonderful Cameron Walker, who is outside St Paul's for us, of course, our royal reporter, who had an absolute marathon day of it yesterday. It looks as though the sun might have just come out a bit for you, Cameron, in your honour, no doubt. Where are we up to where you are?
Just a bit, Patrick. Yes, well, the bells are still pealing here at St Paul's Cathedral, as I believe they are right across the country in honour of Her Majesty's Platinum Jubilee, 70 years of service. We've had a couple of the royals start to arrive. We've had Princess Anne. Prince Harry was wearing his military medals, but he was not in military uniform. It's unknown what uniform, if any, that Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales, and indeed his Prince Harry's brother, the Duke of Cambridge, will be wearing. But it's the first time they've all been together in some kind of church since that infamous Commonwealth Day service in March 2020, just before the pandemic and just before the Duke and Duchess of Sussex left as senior members of the royal family. And I think the atmosphere could best be described as tense that day. So let's see what the atmosphere will be like a little bit later on at 11:30 when this service begins. Harry, Meghan are not in the royal procession. We have not had Prince Charles and Camilla turn up yet, and we have not had the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge either. Her Majesty the Queen is not here. She is watching the service on television. The palace announced last night that she would not be here due to some issues with mobility yesterday. But Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, is also expected to do a reading here at St Paul's. So a lot going on this morning here at St Paul's Cathedral, Patrick.
Sterling job for us there outside St Paul's. Cameron Walker there, our royal reporter.
Now, look, another state car.
Another state car. What does this mean, David?
Well, I would have thought this is the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge.
OK, so potentially we're
again arriving in order of precedence. In other words, order of proximity to the succession.
OK, right, so obviously we now are going to await.
And you see he's got the royal coat of arms, but if anybody here is interested in heraldry and we get a closer look, you'll see it's got what's called a label for difference. There'll be a pattern at the top which makes that coat of arms unique just to the Duke of Cambridge.
Oh, really?
And you'll see with Prince Charles, who is coming now, there will be exactly the same thing. It varies.
Ah, so they're arriving almost alongside...
They're arriving almost together.
OK, fantastic. Well, that's good.
So the heir to the throne and the next heir to the throne.
And you were talking a little bit earlier, as we were waiting for them to get out of the cars, of course, about the Royal Rolls-Royce. Are they in Rolls-Royces again here?
Do you know what? I'm no car expert.
I think they are. I think they are.
Can anybody... That looks like a Rolls-Royce to me.
Absolutely. Now, look, we're just watching...
we're actually watching
It's Prince William and Kate have just got out. If anyone's interested, Kate is wearing a rather nice kind of lemon-coloured, would you say? Slightly lemon-coloured dress.
It's not quite lemon, it's a softer yellow. Let me do your fashion correspondent.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
She's wearing a softer yellow, a kind of almost a primrose yellow. There's a hat come fascinator, which is fairly extraordinary.
And Prince William, of course.
He has got, I think, I can't see again, my eyes are terrible.
No, it's morning.
Under his medals, I think he's wearing the Garter Star.
OK, the Garter Star, and
that is the highest, the honour which Tony Blair has just been given, and it's the thing that goes back to the reign of Edward III, and it features the Cross of St George with the Diamond Star. I think.
OK.
My eyes are terrible.
That's all right, David, don't worry.
No.
We just got a little glimpse inside the cathedral there as well, didn't we? And it looks really, really resplendent, and so it should. And the contrast, we're going to come on to this in a second.
Right, we've seen the arrival of the Prince of Wales now, I think.
We are seeing the arrival of the Prince of Wales. I mean, this will be strange for him, really, because more so than anyone, the fact that the Queen isn't there will probably affect...
Now, look at the scale of Rolls-Royce now. Pause, look at it. And again, you can see the royal coat of arms there. But this is one of the real grand stately Rolls, specifically designed for this purpose. It's a bit like the Pope Mobile. It enables you to sit up. It enables you to be seen and to wave and also to get in and out in a dignified fashion, which, having used some of these cars occasionally, can be a major problem.
What are they like inside?
They're very beautiful. There's wonderful woodwork, wonderful leatherwork. They're objects of beauty. And you could see very close up there the royal coat of arms with the label for difference for the prince.
So far, no disruptions, the likes of which we saw yesterday. With
look, you can see, if you look there, you can see how the car is supposed to work. And you can see how much space there is between the driver and the passenger.
It's very much bespoke vehicle.
You can get in and out. They're designed for the purpose. You can get in and out easily. And it was one of those cars, of course, if you remember, a little while back, that when the Prince and Camilla were going to a theatrical event.
And indeed, they've just arrived, by the way. So
they are now getting out.
Yes. Go on, carry on, Dave. Sorry.
So you've got Camilla getting out first.
Yep.
You've now got the Prince. And he's wearing morning dress.
He is indeed. And Camilla as well, I would say, is, well, looking a bit more regal than Meghan, as indeed she should as well. It's kind of a white hat, or that jaunty angle that they always wear.
And a coat dress with facing embroidery. The dress is cream. There's a more goldy quality. Again, you know, this is the future Queen.
This is.
And she is looking like it.
Yes, indeed. Now, David, we've obviously been waiting here for quite a long time for Charles and Camilla to arrive, and now they have done. So what does this mean now? Does it imply that we're about to get started, do you think?
I think that if they enter the cathedral directly at this point, we should hear the piece of music that I was talking about. We should hear the actual introit. It's called, means going in.
OK. Talk to us a little bit about those order of events and specifically the kind of the musical elements of it as well.
Well, the musical elements, as I said, they're deliberately royal. So the great introit, I was glad, it's written for the coronation of Edward VII. It's reworked for the coronation of George V. It's been used at every coronation since. The Queen hears this. You know, she'll be listening now, I think, particularly. She heard that piece of music first when she was a little girl at the coronation of her father. And then, of course, you know, all too few years later, in 1952, it's 53 rather, it's her coronation. And now it's that sense of the Circularity.
We can hear just a few bells ringing out there. They're still ringing out at St Paul's, of course, aren't they? And it's been a really tremendous occasion so far. This is the National Service of Thanksgiving. I've been asking you to get in touch with me as well about the reasons why you are thankful to the Queen. And we've had Angela get in touch with us, gbviews at gbnews.uk. So she's always been a light in this country's darkest times. That's from Angela, so thank you very much, Angela. I'm just going to scroll through these. These have been flooding in now, actually. Basically saying, yes, Patrick, she's always been there for us. We were saying that she's very grateful at the way that she's... Oh, this is a good one from Paul. Thank you very much, Paul, to say... I'm grateful of how much respect she commands for this country on the world stage. And I think that's a very important thing, David, isn't it, actually? When the Queen stands up and starts talking, anyone from anywhere in the world listens.
Yes, but she, you know, it's not so much her talking, it's gesture. The biggest things that she's done, you know, like the shaking of the hands of Martin McGuinness, which is something I wouldn't have done.
Yes,
they are
true.
gestures. They're gestures. But of course, what was, again, yes, indeed, she's the Queen. Other people are Queen of Denmark, Queen of the Netherlands or whatever. She is the Queen. But that's an echo of the fact that we were the empire, that Britain was the greatest power, and the monarchy is, I think, the only institution that survives from then that conveys the full flavour of what it was. And I think what we're seeing, because you know, the monarchy that the Queen inherited, the monarchy that she swore to protect, was an imperial monarchy.
Indeed.
It was you know, when the piece of music that we're hearing now, or will be hearing, When I Was Glad, was first played, it was a coronation of a king emperor.
Goodness
The king of Great Britain and the Emperor of India. Her father, Elizabeth's own father, was crowned Emperor of India. They do, you know, the title only goes immediately post 1945 under the Labour government. But up to that point, it is literally an imperial monarchy, and the crown is still called the imperial crown.
OK. Well, I'll tell you what, I was glad, and I'm indeed glad that you're here, because your depth of knowledge, David, is fantastic. We are going to go...
If only my eyesight were better.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've sorted you out with a better television over there if you turn your head around. So,
that's much better, yes. I can actually see that one.
I'm going to go to Cameron Walker now outside St Paul's for us. Cameron, our royal reporter. There's a little bit of a delay here. So, Cameron, what's going on, Cameron?
David's knowledge certainly is fantastic. So just to recap, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have arrived, as well as the Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall. But let's talk a little bit about the military involvement in today's service of Thanksgiving at St Paul's Cathedral. So there's 250 service personnel who are forming a guard of honour, and they are lining the entrances to the cathedral. You can probably see them on one of our live feeds there. There's also going to be representatives from armed forces from a number of Commonwealth countries at the service. There'll be Royal Navy sailors in the congregation from HMS Queen Elizabeth, our major big aircraft carrier here in Great Britain, as well as HMS Lancaster. Both have a very special relationship with Her Majesty the Queen. The band of Her Majesty's Royal Marines are going to be providing the music during the service, and there will be state trumpeters from the Household Cavalry as well. And interestingly, 9 fanfare trumpets provided by the Royal Air Force. So a whole kind of contingent of armed forces taking part in today's service, as well as a number of guests who have been invited to this service have provided a service to this country, particularly in the last couple of years with the coronavirus pandemic. NHS key workers and volunteers and teachers have also been invited to the service behind me at St Paul's. So I suppose this kind of encompassing of ordinary Brits up and down the country is kind of echoing the service of Her Majesty the Queen, which she has provided for the last 70 years or so.
And a little bit later on in the show, we are going to be going to West Yorkshire, where there's a party taking place there. I mean, there's parties taking place up and down the country. In fact, there was a pretty big one yesterday in Beaconsfield, which was rather lovely, I must say. I couldn't believe I was being paid to be there, Cameron, but nonetheless, I actually was. And I think, Cameron, as well, I know that you're slightly to the side of St Paul's at the moment, but we know, because we can see through the images, that people are lining the streets, thousands of people. The Union Jack is hoisted high, the bells are ringing. It must be a tremendous occasion there, Cameron.
It certainly is, and you can just see some royal guards behind me marching off, who have just obviously formed that line at the entrance of St Paul's Cathedral, but clearly all the members of the royal family and congregation are in the cathedral. 2,000 of them. We're expecting the service to start at around 11:30, but the atmosphere here, I can see crowds lining the kind of crash barriers, and they have draped Union flags over those crash barriers. They're waving flags. They're being very, very patriotic here, Patrick. I think, you know, there's an entire weekend of celebration for Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Trooping the colour yesterday, there were people camping out on the Mall a couple of days before, just hoping to catch a glimpse of the royal family and indeed Her Majesty the Queen standing on that balcony, and it's very much still here today. That's patriotism.
Yes, brilliant stuff, Cameron. Thank you. We're going to you throughout the day. Cameron Walker, their royal reporter, just outside St Paul's, where this national service of Thanksgiving is due to take place. And I'm joined throughout with David Starkey, the wonderful David Starkey, who's written more than 20 books on the royals, including, yes, OK, some that date back to the Middle Ages. I won't make the joke again. But last night...
You're almost as old as the Middle Ages.
There you go, yes. After, obviously, what was a long day for the Queen, it was a long day for everyone, really, in a lot of senses, I thought when she kind of walked out, you know, and just pressed that kind of magical button, and the lighting that went up after the beacons that had gone all down the country was... I actually made me want to cry.
I thought it was a tad James Bond. The sight of a yeoman of the guard with this thing that was almost as odd as the crown, the coronet, which Prince Charles had when he was invested as Prince of Wales. And you know, it is the awkwardness, isn't it, of monarchy and modernity? Yeah. Because one of the things that we again, we were talking about Edward VII. He's the one who makes the big choice that the monarchy finally remains horseback, uniforms, you know, old artillery. It doesn't go French. It doesn't go Russian. It doesn't go modern weapons. It doesn't in fact go like the deliberately modernistic dictatorships of the 1930s. But it's when you put these two elements together, they can slightly jar a bit.
You seamlessly always have a way of almost delving into my mind, because you mentioned the word dictatorships now, and I've just read a little article that Kim Jong-un, a North Korean leader, has actually joined the tributes to our dear Queen. But of course, he's not the only one, as indeed as the likes of Emmanuel Macron, who I believe donated a horse to the Queen, a well-behaved horse, he said, no doubt. We'd all want an unruly horse. But what kind of tributes have you seen, really? What kind of... what do you know about maybe the kind of people who've been paying tribute to Her Majesty? She is obviously a global figure.
Well, I think the fact that the President of France, I mean, it was a piece, wasn't it, of magnificent French one-upmanship.
It was a backhanded compliment.
Well, the French monarchy, the French presidency is really a monarchy. He's an elected monarch. He lives in a palace grander than the Queen. I mean, the inside of the Élysée is magnificent. He has a royal guard. It's called the Garde Républicaine. Yes. But in fact, it is a royal guard. And the horse that she was presented with is a horse trained to guard the president. I mean, what we forget, you know, is just we go on about, oh, isn't ceremony old-fashioned? Yeah. Every minister, not only the president himself, every minister in France is accompanied by a gentleman usher in morning dress with white tie, wearing a wand, carrying a wand. In other words, France really is still a monarchy underneath, but it's an elective monarchy. Yeah. Whereas we've got a real one.
Yes, ours is real.
It is more gentle. It is less militarised. It's more civilised. And again, when we saw I think it's fascinating today that the royals have chosen to do it in morning dress. That this is civilian. The only person, as it were, wearing formal robes is the Lord Mayor. This is a monarchy which is confident enough. Yeah. You and I were lamenting the fact there's not quite perhaps as much pomp and circumstance as we would have wanted, but this is a monarchy that's contented enough to become a little understated and isn't understatement the most characteristically British thing?
Well, it is, although it's not something I necessarily always do that well.
Well, us media people, you know, we're very good at blowing our own trumpets, aren't we?
Absolutely. Anyway, David Starkey, thank you very, very much. You're going to be with us throughout. I just want to finish, before we go to a little break, really, with you, the people at home, the people who are maybe driving in their cars, you've got us tuned into your radio, maybe you're watching online, on the go, or whatever. But I just wanted to say thank you, really, for everyone who's been getting in touch for us. GBviews at gbnews.uk. I asked people why people were grateful for the Queen. This is, of course, the national service of thanksgiving to Her Majesty. And I just think this is an absolutely brilliant one from Paul, and he's absolutely spot on, OK? He says, I am grateful to Her Majesty, eternally grateful to the Queen, because she bucks the mood of the town up for weeks. And it's interesting, though, because he said towns. We didn't say country. So this implies that wherever Paul is in the country right now, in his town, that mood is absolutely buzzing. I'm not going to compare the Queen's Platinum Jubilee directly to when we were in the Euros final, OK? That would be a bit remiss of me. However, there was a similar element...
Almost as rare. Almost as rare an event.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Queen can't lose on penalties. But, you know, it really does, I think, buck the mood up, doesn't it? The national mood, the national excitement. We've had a miserable time of it for a little while, people. So, you know what? Let's just be happy. We've got flags there everywhere. There's some behind me here in the studio. And we are, of course, going to be going to you throughout the show. And what David has said as well is he says, David's got in touch. This is a good one to end it on, OK? This is a good one to end it on before we go over to get your latest headlines, OK? He says he likes the Queen because she's so lovely that the Republicans have to shut up. So basically saying that she's so good at being our Queen that anyone who doesn't want a monarchy, basically, you know, they know where the door is. Anyway, right, OK, look, thank you very much for everyone who's been tuning in. I'm with you for another hour, an hour and a half, actually. But keep those views coming in, gbviews at gbnews.uk. I'll be joined throughout by historian David Starkey, who's getting a heck of a lot of love, I must say, in the inbox. I've asked people why they're grateful for our dear Queen. A lot of people say they're actually grateful to have you commentating here. So there you go.
There's another Queen.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to throw now to a very, very quick break, I believe. So yes, all right. Well, after that, of course, we'll be going to our royal reporter Cameron Walker outside Downing Street, outside St Paul's as well.
Real power.
Real power. Yes, but just before that, you know, David, I think it's fascinating. You were saying you were grateful to the Queen for a load of reasons, really, weren't you? And I think that's what I'm asking everyone to do right now. Get in touch, gbviews at gbnews.uk. Just to say to us what you're grateful to the Queen for. OK, right, well, after the break, we speak with a man who's been awarded an MBE as part of the Queen's birthday honours list, and that's, of course, after the weather and, indeed, after a break.
It's 11:33. I'm Olivia Guthrie in the GB Newsroom. The National Service of Thanksgiving is underway at St Paul's Cathedral on day 2 of the Jubilee celebrations. Members of the royal family arrived after the bell ringing, greeted by loud cheers from the public. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have taken their place in the second row of the congregation with Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. Prince Charles, Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, and the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are sitting across the aisle. The Queen is watching the service on television from Windsor Castle, reluctantly deciding not to attend after experiencing some discomfort yesterday. Prince Philip's great-niece, Princess Xenia, says she'll be disappointed to miss the service.
She is indeed a very spiritual person, and I've experienced that in firsthand. Every Sunday she has one of the members of the clergy for lunch, and she spends a lot of time, you know, dedicated to her spiritual beliefs. And I'm sure she will find a moment for herself to potentially have a service at St George's Chapel or go into prayer. And she's very sad, but as you said, she's 96. I mean, she's incredible.
In other news, UK intelligence shows Russia now controls more than 90% of Luhansk in eastern Ukraine. On the 11th day of the war, the Ministry of Defence is warning Moscow could have complete control of the region in the next 2 weeks. After abandoning its assault on the capital, Kyiv, Russian forces are now focusing on the east and south of the country. The government has confirmed it wants to ditch what it's calling overbearing EU rules about imperial measurements. It's launched a consultation which may give traders more freedom to use pounds and ounces instead of kilos and grams when selling goods in future. TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News.
Direct Bullion sponsors the finance report on GB News for gold and silver investment.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound is 1.257 to the dollar and 1.170 to the euro. And the price of gold currently stands at £1,483.96 per ounce.
Direct Bullion sponsors the finance report on GB News for physical investment.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
we embrace all voices.
With honest and civilized conversation.
We're not part of the establishment. Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton.
Good morning, everybody. It's 11:38. This is To The Point with me, Patrick Christie's on GB News, and we are live as ever on your TV, online and radio this morning. Loads of you have been getting in touch. These are really starting to flood in now, OK, about what you're grateful to our Queen for, OK? National Service of Thanksgiving as well. GBviews at gbnews.uk. Get them coming in. But just moving away from that slightly, this year's Queen's Jubilee Birthday Honours List marks the public service of individuals right across the UK in celebration of Her Majesty's 70 years on the throne. And, of course, more than 1,000 people now have been honoured in the Queen's Jubilee Honours List. Medical staff who worked through the COVID pandemic are among those honoured, including Professor Stephen Powis, the NHS National Medical Director, and Chief Nursing Officer Ruth May, and, well, former Northern Ireland First Minister and GB News' very own Arlene Foster, who's been made a Dame. Dame Arlene. Fantastic. Come on, Arlene. There we go. Hey, see what I did? That doesn't just happen, this. Anyway, here's what she had to say about her honour.
Well, of course, it's a personal honour and I'm really delighted with it, but I hope it will be reflected back on the people of Fermanagh and South Tyrone who give me such support when I was their member. And indeed, as I say, as the first female First Minister, it's wonderful to have this acknowledgement.
Thoroughly deserved. Can I just say, actually, I walk past Arlene Foster fairly regularly in the office. She's always the first person who comes up, saunters over. She's got a very kind of unique approach. She always looks like she's got a twinkle in her eye, like she's up to something, you know, like she's about to, you know, tell you a little joke or something like that. And quite often she actually does. So there we go. But she's a really nice, really nice person behind the scenes as well as on camera, of course. And I can't think of anyone more deserving. But anyway, another recipient is my next guest, Professor Dominic McVeigh, who's been awarded an MBE for services to private sector development in Africa. And there he is, you can see him, he joins me now. How are you, my good man?
Very, very happy to be here.
Yeah, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
How does it feel?
It's still sinking in, and every time I speak to my mum, she starts crying again.
Oh, you just set me off. I'm constantly been on the edge today, and I don't really know why. But, yes, go on, so talk us through exactly why you were honoured.
So I was honoured for services to private sector development in Africa, which means that I've, for many years, been supporting countries across the continent of Africa to grow their economies, build their trade, and try and get them out of poverty.
Right.
And I've also been a major investor in Africa, where I've created tens of thousands of jobs myself in places like Kenya, Ethiopia and Ghana.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just in case people are just joining us, what's the exact honour?
It's an MBE for services to private sector development in Africa.
Good stuff. So, I mean, this really, obviously, you don't do it for the honours, do you? You don't do it for the honours, of course you don't. You do it out of humanity and all of that. But just explain to me how you found out that you'd got this then.
Well, it's quite a funny story. I'd just come off a 10-hour flight, and I was a bit jaded and very jet-lagged, and I opened an email that said protocol, and I thought, am I in trouble for something?
Here's a bill or something.
Yeah, if I upset someone. I started reading it, and I didn't have my glasses on, and I started shaking. I actually cried.
Of course.
And everyone on the plane was extremely concerned, but then they could tell I was extremely happy. But I couldn't tell anyone. So
oh, no.
Couldn't tell anyone.
How long ago was this?
About a month ago.
So you sat on this for a month?
Yeah, it was really tough. Really tough.
Oh, my gosh.
And I kept thinking, I hope I don't get run over and my mum never finds out. You know?
Oh, bless you, bless you. So then when you did finally tell your mum, how did you break the news to her?
We had a curry, and the night before last, I said, look, it's going to be in the papers in a couple of hours, and I think you should hear it from me rather than read it for yourself. And we popped the champagne, of course.
Oh, my gosh, mate, this is absolutely brilliant. This is really, really heartwarming, actually. So just talk in a little bit more detail about some of the things that you do in Africa, then.
So I've been building factories in Africa, which create thousands of jobs in the garment sector, so manufacturing for well-known brands of which you can buy on your local high street and in department stores. And there's huge opportunity within Africa because the talent pool is so great, the level of education, but also there's a real need and a responsibility for investors to go and do the right thing and create jobs where jobs are really needed. And so I built factories initially in Kenya, then Ethiopia, and I do a lot of work now in Ghana. That business has gone public and I've exited, and I commit my time now to helping those that need it most to grow their own businesses in developing countries.
You know, you must have had some tremendous stories from your time over there and from the work that you've done. What do you think is the most satisfying achievement?
It's
not hard to say, maybe.
It's just seeing the joy on people's faces and helping others achieve. That's particularly when you're working with communities where a job has never existed, or working with deaf people who've never been given the chance. That for me is not about the P&L. Of course, we need to make money so that we can create the jobs. But when you know thousands of people are able to put their kids in school and put food on their plates, and actually potentially be the future CEOs of the organisations that I build, that's very humbling.
I can imagine. And one day that will happen, no doubt. One day that will happen. You'll be around to see it, and that will be another tremendous achievement that you will be able to witness and be able to say that you've done, or have people like me prattle on at you about it, you know. So no, it really is tremendous stuff. People go on, don't they, about the legacy of empire, especially, and the kind of, what was the phrase about, you know, with the white saviour complex and all this kind of tosh that gets wheeled out when you have comic relief and all that. But actually, you know, this is a really, really, really good thing. And we do, I think, have a responsibility as a nation, you as an investor as well, as an entrepreneur, to give a bit back to some of these places, potentially. Is that how you feel, really? You think that we maybe have a duty?
Yes, I do. I do. I think where we have success, the only way to further that is to pass it on. You don't want to be the only guy in the restaurant or the only person at the party. Society, we're better together than on our own. And as we learn, we need to pass that back. And that's what's so great about this honour, is that it shows that if you do good, people will one day recognise it too.
Absolutely. And this is, it's lovely, obviously, but it's also a version of Global Britain as well,
yes.
isn't it? And that's very important.
Yeah, I was always nervous about being, you know, the guy from out of town turning up to invest. But the countries that I work in, they want the investment, and they're proud of Britain, they're proud of the Queen. Particularly in places like Kenya, where the Queen found out that she was going to be taking the throne.
Yeah.
They want to learn, and the connections, the history's so deep, and we need to be proud of that and build upon it and not be shy of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that we need to use this event now with the Queen, with the Jubilee, of course, to really kickstart some more patriotism?
I do. But I've been getting messages from all around the world. People are so excited for the Jubilee, and we need to further that and our engagement with the world and what it means to be Britain.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's an irony here. People were going on about the negative connotation. I don't think there are any negative connotations, personally, of our flag, but people were banging on about that, weren't there? And actually, our flag is the most visible symbol of us around the world. If that gets hoisted in any country, people do take a step back and they notice it. And just finally, because I think it's nice to finish... you know, kind of with that outward-looking appearance there, which is what are some of the things that are said to you when you go abroad and you go to Africa about Britain, about the Queen?
People want Britain to be doing more business. They want to be doing more trade. They want more British people to come as tourists as well. They're proud of Britain, and people often say to me, it's good to be doing business with Britain.
Absolutely. Well, look, it's Professor Dominic McVeigh there, who's now an MBE, right, for his services to private sector development in Africa. I would just like to say a personal congratulations to you, mate.
Thank you very much.
Well done, well done. Good stuff. The very best of British. There you go. Well, anyway, look, yesterday Mercy and I... It's a bit of a shift in tone here now, people. Yesterday, Mercy and I celebrated the Queen's 70th Jubilee in style. We went to the Royal Standard of England pub, OK, which dates back over 950 years. It's the oldest free house in England, and I can safely say this is the best pub I have ever been to, and I've tried a few of them. We spoke to the owner, of course, had some delicious food. We shared a few beers with some of the locals in the area. Let's get into it, shall we? There really is only one way to travel on Jubilee Day, ladies and gentlemen. We have to arrive in style. It's what our Queen would have wanted. You can't get more British than this. We've got the old Jag, and we've got Mercy wearing our Union Jack. Right, I think I'm going to hop out if I can. There we go. OK, yes, here we are. And we're at the oldest cruiser in Britain. I think I should do the gentlemanly thing, shouldn't I, really?
Please, if you may.
I feel like James Bond. OK, here we go. After you.
I'll try and do this very classily.
Yes.
Thank you,
sir. You're very welcome. Right, OK, well, here we are, of course, at the oldest free house in England. Let's go and get some good British grub, shall we?
Yeah, good idea.
Is the inside of the Royal Standard of England. It's absolutely incredible. You're going to love this. We're currently inside a ship, aren't we?
Yes, everywhere you look, there is just a piece of history. I mean, you just have to look around the place and you just feel British.
I'm resisting the urge at the moment, but I'm not sure how long that's going to last. Let's turn it on round, Pibbs, and have a look at what we've got going on in here.
Yeah.
This place is going to be rammed later.
Absolutely. They're expecting lots of customers. Of course, people are going to be out celebrating. Just look again at how much history there is around here. You've got some interesting decor there, animal-wise. Something looking like Basil Brush.
The skeleton up there as well.
Skeleton up there, Donald Trump's wig here. And who other than the Queen? Beautiful, isn't she?
So we arrived in style, but now, of course, we've got to test the produce, haven't we? So I've got a pie. It's a proper pie, proper British pie. It's got pastry all the way around it. What have you got?
I have a pork belly, because anybody who watches our show regularly knows that I love my pork, so I can't wait to get stuck into this.
Yes, indeed. And Matthew's back with us here, of course, the landlord here at the Royal Standard of England, which is a fantastic place, the best pub I've ever been to. So just talk me through what's on your menu and the history of this place.
Sunday roast on a Sunday is a massive day for us. We can do 400 covers lunchtime, which is a lot to get through. But overall, it's the fish and chips that sells the most.
The food's been absolutely magnificent, OK? I've heard other people tell me that the beer's nice as well. Of course, the company's brilliant, the management's excellent, but you know what's the best thing about it? Pub dogs. Let's have a look. Right, so, hello. Who's this little person? What's your dog called?
Maisie.
Maisie? How old's Maisie?
A 1.
Do you think Maisie likes the Queen?
I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, good. Do you think she's a good royalist dog?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
She thinks she's a princess, so definitely royal.
She is a princess. Right, well, tell you what, from one princess to another, ladies and gentlemen, let's do it this way. Come on. Yes, here we go. Oh, my gosh, this could be dog of the day. Right. Hello, how are you? What's your dog called?
Luna.
Luna, and how old is Luna?
Luna's 4 months.
4 months? Look at Luna, yes, get in. And what breed is Luna?
She's an XL bully.
An XL bully?
Yeah.
Gosh, she doesn't look like much of a bully to me.
No, she's a softie.
And do you think Luna knows it's the Jubilee and it's a very special?
Yeah, we've got bunting everywhere. She knows. She knows
it's the Jubilee.
She knows.
Yes, absolutely good stuff. Well, Luna obviously is fantastic. I think, but a bit exhausted from all this celebrating, all the partying we've been doing here. What a lovely dog. Luna, are you all right? What's your dog called?
Molly.
Molly, Polly?
Molly.
Molly. Hello, Molly. How are you? Are you okay? And what breed is Molly?
Molly is a golden doodle, half golden retriever, half poodle.
Golden doodle.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
She thinks the whole world should adore her.
Well, I think the whole world probably does, actually. Do you think that Molly loves the Queen?
I think very, very definitely she thinks she is the Queen.
Okay, there's a bit like going about. I tell you what, you are absolutely gorgeous. Right, okay, I think we can all agree that's enough pub dogs for now. See you in a bit. Here's the chef, Alex, good lad. How are you?
How are we doing?
Yeah, good. Right, talk us through each dish, mate.
So we've got chicken and mushroom and leek pie.
Yeah.
Served with savoy cabbage and mashed potato.
Yeah, what's this one?
This is sous vide lamb shoulder, roasted on the sous vide on the bone with dauphinoise potato, lamb jus and cabbage again.
Okay, well, we've done the pies, we're all right. Let's go for the fish and chips.
Classic fish and chips. We're known for it around here. It's pretty famous. Mushy peas, tartar sauce, lemon, and then we've got garlic and sugar.
These little guys.
Tiger prawns.
Tiger prawns, fantastic.
Yeah.
Right, I think it's time for a bit of an anti-pasty board, isn't it? I'm absolutely ravenous. This is all for me, by the way. Mercy's not getting her hands on it. So, what's this?
So this is our charcuterie board. We've got mortadella, salami, prosciutto, chorizo, served with a chicken liver parfait, pork roulette.
Keep up the good work, mate, and I'd just like to say thank you very much, because he's been absolutely top sport, this lad, all day. It's been great. The food's completely brilliant, and to be honest with you, what a way to celebrate the Jubilee. I got paid for that. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, isn't it? What a day out that was. Let me tell you, it was just, I keep saying it, it's the best pub I've ever been to. It's the Royal Standard of England, and it's in Beaconsfield. Hopefully we might be able to have a quick chat with their landlord later on in the show. But let's just wrap off this hour with something close to the Queen's heart. So, former members of the Royal Yacht Britannia crew have returned to the ship to share their stories as part of the Queen's Jubilee celebrations. 65 of the yachties, as they have been known, have returned to their normal duties on board to help restore the vessel, which is based in Leith in Edinburgh. Davy Donaldson has this report for us.
All hands on deck as the Britannia undergoes some finishing touches. These people are all former crew members, giving up their time to help maintain the ship. Andy Fletcher is the secretary of the Association of Royal Yachtsmen.
We thought that as an association it would be nice to come and relive our memories, chat to some of the visitors, and also give them a bit of a hand to do some of the jobs which the 17 guys who look after her now can't necessarily get done all the time. So it's a special thing once a year. We haven't been able to come up here since COVID, so we're a 3 years late now, and especially for the Platinum anniversary, this is just a really special week.
Many of the crew spent years aboard the ship, travelling around the world, looking after the royal family. One of them is Steward William French, who was even called by his nickname by the Duke of Edinburgh.
Oh, it's a huge honour to be on board the Britannia and to serve Her Majesty herself. That's what we all dream of in our life. And yes, I had that lucky opportunity and I took it in my stride, and it got better and better, because the more they got to know you, you got called by your first name, or my nickname at the time.
What was your nickname at the time?
Froggy. Yeah. Duke of Edinburgh often called me Froggy as he walked past.
That must have made your day.
Oh, yeah, you just take it in your stride and a little smile, and, you know, when you called, it was, Froggy, where are you, you know, or Froggy, what are you doing now?
This is where Froggy would have served food and drinks to the royal family, and upstairs in a different deck are the sleeping quarters, including the Queen's bedroom. While the royals and guests were enjoying themselves down in the engine room, the crew were hard at work. But engineer David Rushforth says it was always appreciated.
Things that impressed me was how thoughtful the royal family were for the crew of this ship. And they always made a point of thanking us before they departed. And that means a lot, doesn't it? They didn't have to do that.
Ben Bentley was a radio operator and remembers being invited to Windsor Castle when the yacht was 60 years old.
all come up to Windsor Castle into the Great Hall and have pre-dinner drinks. And then the family, the Queen, Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Charles, they all mingled round, talked to the whole ship's company that were there and the families.
The Royal Yacht Britannia was finally decommissioned in 1997, a move which saw the Queen shed a tear. But a replacement is planned which could cost £250 million and could be in service in the next 3 or 4 years. While Britannia may not sail anymore, the ship clearly has a special place in Her Majesty's heart and holds memories of relaxing trips around the world with her family. David Donaldson, GB News.
Well, there we go. I tell you what, that was a really heartwarming, nice little story, that wasn't it? But from one heartwarming thing to another on this special day, GBViews at gbnews.uk. Louise has been in touch with us. I've been asking you all morning, what are the reasons why you're grateful for our Queen? What is it specifically about her? Because, of course, it is the National Service of Thanksgiving today. And she's not there, unfortunately, but she's obviously watching things on television. So she might be watching this right now. So you could be telling the Queen directly what you're most grateful for her. But Louise, I, for one, am very thankful to the Queen for being our monarch for 72 years, not just because she is our Queen, but a lovely lady to boot. I met her on many occasions, as my dad was a blacksmith at Buckingham Palace when I was a child, very down to earth, just like any other person you'll meet when out with your parents, and would ask you about school, etc, etc, etc. And she lets me inside her golden carriage from time to time as well, and that's from Louise. So thank you very much, Louise, and that's tremendous memories there, and thank you so much for that email, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Keep your reasons coming in for why you are grateful for our Queen on this very, very special day in national British history. Keep all your thoughts coming in to us, gbviews@gbnews.uk. I'll be back in a tick after the weather. Well, we're looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking, yep, that's right, showery across Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland, northwest England and North Wales this morning. But generally brighter elsewhere. Let's take a look at those details. So by noon, much of the southwest of England will hold on to dry weather, although Cornwall and West Devon will have the best of the sunshine with more cloud around further east. So the southeast will also be generally fine, and here there'll be some warm spells of hazy sunshine lifting temperatures into the low 20s. We're going to go over now to Wales, and the showers will affect some parts of northern Wales, but more southern areas could end up mostly dry today, albeit with a fair amount of cloud around. The Midlands now, they will see quite a bit of cloud, and there'll be an increasing chance of 1 or 2 showers breaking out. Nonetheless, it'll be fairly warm. To the northeast now, and in parts of the northeast, England will also have a few showers, and although it will be drier and locally brighter towards the coast, there'll be a cool breeze blowing in off the North Sea. The far east and northeast of Scotland will be rather cloudy and cool, whilst southwestern areas have showers. For central and northwestern areas, though, it's looking fine with some warm sunshine. A few bright spells are likely across Northern Ireland, but there'll also be a scattering of showers, giving a rather changeable theme to the weather here. During the afternoon and early evening, showers will continue in the west. Elsewhere, it will be mainly dry with some sunshine. And that's how the weather is shaping up for the rest of the day.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices.
with honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you. And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Offence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Yes, OK, right, well, very good morning, everybody. In fact, it's just gone afternoon, actually. It's midday. We were here with me, Patrick Christie's, on To The Point. I'm going to be here for another hour, whizzing you through what is a tremendous day in our history. Look at this. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. A smiling, beaming Queen, and that's what we want for the Platinum Jubilee, don't we? Well, it is, of course, that service of Thanksgiving today, so we're going to be bringing you little updates from all of that. But of course, we want your opinions as well, your views, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Make sure that you get in touch with your views, as usual. That email again, gbviews@gbnews.uk. We'll be going to those throughout the show. David Starkey's back. He's back for more, back with a bang. Can't get rid of him. Anyway, also, we want to hear about we're also hearing about what you're getting up to this weekend to celebrate Her Majesty's Jubilee. You can email us, jubilee@gbnews.uk. But first, it's time for your latest headlines.
Hello, it's 1 minute past 12. I'm Olivia Guthrie in the GB newsroom. The National Service of Thanksgiving is underway at St Paul's Cathedral on day 2 of the Jubilee celebrations. Members of the royal family arrived after the bell ringing, greeted by loud cheers from the public. Prince Harry and Meghan, appearing with the Windsors for the first time since moving to the States, arrived ahead of Prince William and Kate. There was Charles and Camilla for the service to honour the Queen's 70-year reign. Her Majesty is absent after experiencing some discomfort yesterday. She's watching it on television from Windsor Castle. Prince Philip's great-niece, Princess Xenia, says she'll be disappointed to miss the service.
She is indeed a very spiritual person, and I've experienced that in first-hand. Every Sunday she has one of the members of the clergy for lunch, and she spends a lot of time, dedicated to her spiritual beliefs. And I'm sure she will find a moment for herself to potentially have a service at St George's Chapel or go into prayer. And she's very sad, but as you said, she's 96. I mean, she's incredible.
In other news, UK intelligence shows Russia now controls more than 90% of Luhansk in eastern Ukraine. On the 100th day of the war, the Ministry of Defence is warning Moscow could have complete control of the region in the next 2 weeks. After abandoning its assault on the capital, Kyiv, Russian forces are now focusing on the east and south of the country. Officials in Luhansk say the number of weapons provided by the West are still not enough. The US president is urging Congress to ban assault weapons and expand background checks in the wake of another mass shooting. 4 people, including 2 doctors, were killed when a gunman opened fire at a hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma yesterday. Last week, a teenager shot dead 19 children and 2 teachers at a school in Uvalde. And during a racially motivated attack, 10 people were killed in Buffalo in New York. President Biden says enough is enough.
Guns are the #1 killer of children in the United States of America. The #1 killer. More than car accidents, more than cancer. Over the last 2 decades, more school-age children have died from guns than on-duty police officers and active-duty military combined. For God's sake, how much more carnage are we willing to accept? How many more innocent American lives must be taken before we say enough?
Back here, the Ministry of Defence has been warned it could compromise national security unless it fixes or scraps its Ajax armoured vehicle programme. A parliamentary report found it was flawed from the outset. The programme, designed to build reconnaissance vehicles for the army, has been running for 12 years at a cost of £3.2 billion, but has so far failed to deliver a single deployable vehicle. The government has confirmed it wants to ditch what it's calling overbearing EU rules about imperial measurements. It's launched a consultation which may give traders more freedom to use pounds and ounces instead of kilos and grams when selling goods in the future. The Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy says a review will restore common sense to the statute book. Actress Amber Heard plans to appeal the decision that she defamed ex-husband Johnny Depp. One of her attorneys says Heard has excellent grounds for the appeal, adding there was so much evidence that was not included during the trial. Johnny Depp sued his former partner over a 2018 opinion article, which his lawyers said falsely accused him of being physically and sexually abusive towards her. A jury awarded Depp over £8 million in damages. And the illustrator behind best-selling book The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse is selling some of his drawings. Sotheby's is auctioning 28 original Charlie Mackesy sketches. The ink and watercolour creations include 2 which didn't make the final cut for the book. The artist says it's a massive privilege to have his work shown by the auction house as part of a series of Jubilee exhibitions. This is GB News. We'll bring you more as it happens. Now let's get back to Patrick.
A very good morning, everybody. This is To The Point on GB News with me, Patrick Christie's, on your TV, radio and online. And I've got a great show lined up, of course, to help kickstart your day and commemorate a very special day as well. So here's what's on the menu. A national service of thanksgiving is taking place at St Paul's Cathedral this very morning as part of the Platinum Jubilee celebrations. Meanwhile, the bells have been ringing out across the UK and Commonwealth countries as well. And we will be coming to some of them soon with our regional reporters, so don't worry, we'll be doing all of that very shortly. We will also be joined by royal experts and friend of the channel, Rafe Heidelman-Koo, who will break down some of the pageantry that we are seeing, explaining its relevance and why we still perform these traditional rituals today. Speaking of traditions, though, as well, our East Midlands reporter, Will Hollett, has been looking into the Queen's beloved nosegay flower bouquets, which one florist in Leicester was responsible for creating. And finally, we'll be having a right royal knees up. That's right. Mercy and I spent yesterday at one of the best pubs I've ever been to. 900 years old, the very best of British. You can see what we got up to and find out how they're celebrating the Jubilee a little bit later on in the show. We are the People's Channel, though, live across the whole of the UK and on your TV, your radio and online. You can get in touch with us. As usual, GBViews at gbnews.uk. But watch out, Starkey's about. Yes, before we go to David Starkey, he's sashayed his way back into the studio to keep you up to date and keep you abreast with expert insight, really, into the events of the day. I've got a couple of things I'd like to say, actually. So what was the highlight of yesterday for you? Was it that unbelievable flyover, those adorable shots of Prince Louis covering his ears, the sight of a man in a kilt firing a flaming arrow onto a pontoon, lighting a beacon to represent what a beacon of strength and hope our dear Queen has been throughout the course of the last 70 years. Beacons to represent the fact that during this country's darkest times, she has always been our shining light. Was it the fact that Harry and Meghan were relegated to the side rooms? They were put firmly in their place, weren't they? Was it the fact for you that Prince Andrew wasn't there? Gosh, it could be that there were flags everywhere, the bunting, the pageantry, the sense of national pride. People queuing up for, well, quite possibly days, really, just to get a glimpse of our lovely Queen. For once, we weren't afraid to fly our national flag, our emblem, our standard, the most visible symbol of our country's greatness. When that flag flies high, everybody around the world takes notice. I tell you what my best bit was, though. Well, Just a fantastic day I had. GB News sent me to the oldest free house in the country, the Royal Standard of England pub. I got to get in a bright red soft-top Jaguar, eat the best pub grub I've ever had. Couple of real ales, of course, as well. Would be rude not to, wouldn't it? Meeting the wonderful people of Beaconsfield who came out in force to celebrate the Jubilee. The sun was shining, the conversation was flowing, and we just came together to commemorate the lifetime of service our Queen has given us. It was, frankly, a very British do. And I loved it. Perhaps you had a street party, maybe. Maybe you met with your loved ones. There are so many highlights, aren't there? So many things to choose from. So many really good, positive things. But what did Nicholas Witchell of the BBC choose to go on instead at the top of the BBC 10 o'clock news? Well, the Queen looking frail, suffering discomfort, using a walking stick, not attending the service at St Paul's today. What a miserable little man. Typical BBC. Got to find the negative, haven't you? Only the BBC could look at an occasion like the Jubilee and suck the flipping life out of it, couldn't they? The Queen is 96 years old, right? I'd like to see what Witchell looks like at that age, personally. Why on earth did they focus on her mobility issues? Well, there was all of that going on as well. You know what? I really do agree with Prince Charles on this. I think he really is an awful man.
I got better. So rims.
Well, that was something, I suppose. Anyway, there we go. Any excuse to play that clip. You can hear David Starkey howling, cackling away to the side there. David, your thoughts? Oh, no, I've broken Starkey.
Cover for me.
I've broken Starkey. Gosh, right, OK.
A silent Starkey. Yeah. this is almost a phenomenon as rare as a Platinum Jubilee. Yeah.
There we go. Right, OK, anyway, right. So the Queen is not attending... Sorry, I've lost it as well here. The Queen is not attending the Jubilee service of Thanksgiving, currently underway at St Paul's Cathedral after experiencing, sadly anyway, discomfort while watching Thursday's parade at Buckingham Palace, of course. Well, look, that decision was made with great reluctance. Her Majesty will be enjoying the service from the comfort of Windsor Castle instead. Her son, Prince Charles, arrived at the cathedral not too long ago and will deputise for Her Majesty at the service. Also arriving in the Royal Bentleys, and I think Rolls Royces as well, was Prince Harry and his wife Meghan in their first public Jubilee appearance since arriving in the country yesterday. Oh, yes, that's right. You've heard him, you've seen a bit of him, you're going to see a lot more of him now. Joining me yet again is David Starkey, who's composed himself. Right, so let's start with what we saw earlier on, OK? So we just saw a procession of people arriving to this service of Thanksgiving for Her Majesty doing. I mean, what's really going on?
Well, what it is, it's, as we were saying beforehand, it's a kind of look back and a look forward. It has music that has got powerful royal associations. They entered once the service actually began. We saw them going in.
Yes.
There's then a pause, I suppose, whilst everybody gets themselves sorted out. And remember, huge procession. And they enter to Hubert Parry's "I Was Glad."
Yes.
This wonderful setting of the Old Testament. I was glad to enter the temple of the Lord, the temple of Solomon, and its music. I've actually handled the manuscript that was written for one coronation, the coronation of Edward VII. It's then played again, rewritten for the coronation of George V, the Queen's grandfather. She hears it for the first time at the coronation of her father. It's played again at her coronation. It's played now when she's watching at Windsor. Prince Charles will hear it when he is crowned.
Yes.
Prince William will. And so you see what I mean? It's this way in which it goes across generations. The texture of the service is thanking God, the Queen believes in. It's also... I think there's a very, very definite element in this, which is a repositioning of the monarchy. This, again, is a monarchy which is now bearing very much the stamp of Prince Charles, but also his father. I mean, we forget, with all Philip's brusqueness, he was a passionate environmentalist too.
Yes.
So here we hear a lot about diversity, we hear a lot about the planet, we hear a lot about the environment, peace, justice, and whatever. And as I was saying, my concern about this is these are now turning. I mean, when Prince Charles first did this, do you remember we all laughed at him?
Yes.
We accused him of talking. We did.
Talking to plants, yeah.
Talks to plants. And there were wonderful old cartoons showing the Prince in earnest conversation with two little flower pot men. And that was when he wasn't talking to Diana.
Yes, I see. Well, he had to talk to someone.
He had to talk to somebody. And it was the flower pot men. But now, of course, so it didn't matter. But now it is the centrepiece of government policy. We've had the climate change conference, vast amounts, unimaginable numbers, of hundreds of billions of pounds are at stake. My concern is getting dangerously political.
Well, this is it, isn't it? Do you think the monarchy is going to become more politicised?
There is a very definite chance, and again, let's just try and put things in a big context. The monarchy was much more politicised. The Queen has deliberately kept herself neutral. From that moment when she thought she was trapped, she found herself choosing the leader of the Conservative Party after the death of Harold Macmillan. She found herself, in a sense, sort of nudged into choosing Alec Douglas-Home, and she never wanted to be in that position again.
Yes.
Whereas her grandfather, George V, is the man who really puts together the national government in the wake of the national strike and the great financial crisis. Much more active monarchy. Now, it may be that Prince Charles feels it appropriate. I mean, but it is dangerous, dangerous territory.
Yes, absolutely.
And I would have thought myself that, yes, make all the right noises about how wonderful the environment is, how important diversity is, but don't actually do too much about it.
No, indeed.
I mean, in other words, again, symbol.
Yes.
Monarchy is actually most effective not when it's using words, when it's using symbol. Well, look yesterday.
Okay.
The only thing you heard was the sergeant major go, "Meh!"
Yes, actually, that's true.
It was a series of symbols. And that's what's so powerful, because it communicates without language. It communicates beyond and above language. Look at that.
Absolutely, yes. And if you are listening on radio, we've basically just got a load of pageantry behind me here, which is quite nice.
We've got the Union Jack.
We've got the Union Jack,
with
exactly.
the most recognisable flag in the world.
Yes.
I mean, it's such a peculiar one. And you know it fundamentally symbolises the union of England and Scotland, but also of Ireland. And it has its origins. It's called a Jack because it's the first man who is king of both England and Scotland, James I, which in Latin is Jacobus. So it's called the Union Jack. Because he is the king who unites the two kingdoms in terms of the crowns, though you've got to wait for another 100 years and terrible civil war. This is, the sight of Nicola Sturgeon there, who wants a separate Scottish monarchy, is terrifying. And you will remember the Queen's delicate observation, I do hope they're thinking carefully about the vote.
Yes.
Because the crown...
But that sums it up as well, sorry to interrupt, but that kind of comment is...
It's perfect. It's perfectly judged.
Exactly.
It's perfectly judged. I mean, it doesn't say... I mean, it makes clear what she wants to happen, but it is just a reminder. It's nudge. It's the very best form of nudge politics.
Well, I'm going to have to give you a little nudge in a second, because we are going to have royal reporter Cameron Walker now outside St Paul's Cathedral for us. He's there. Cameron, thank you so much. The sun is still out for you, which is nice to see. I hope you don't get too badly sunburned. What's going on for us where you are?
I also hope I don't get too badly sunburnt, Patrick, that's for sure. Well, right now, at the moment, the service of Thanksgiving for Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee is taking place at St Paul's Cathedral. The royal family are inside, but Her Majesty the Queen has chosen not to attend. We understand she experienced some discomfort yesterday when she was attending Trooping the Colour celebrations and decided to not attend today. However, the Archbishop of York, sorry, I just thought that was a royal coming past, but it's not. The Archbishop of York has said in the sermon inside the building that Her Majesty is still very much in the saddle and thanks her for staying on course. So the whole theme of the service inside is celebrating Her Majesty's reign, 70 years of service to Great Britain and the Commonwealth. It's a remarkable achievement, and perhaps also also her relationship with the Church and with Christianity. Her Majesty is Supreme Governor of the Church of England, and in her during her accession in 1952, she swore an oath to protect the Church of Scotland as well. Inside, members of the armed forces are represented, so the Royal Air Force, British Army and Royal Navy are there too. And I think another theme of today is public service. We have NHS key workers, we have teachers inside, ordinary members of the public making up that kind of 2,000 or so congregation. We're expecting a Guildhall reception afterwards. And also a couple of notes just to give you a little bit of context. I just heard the crowd cheer behind me, but when people started to arrive at the West Steps of St Paul's Cathedral, when Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, got out his car, the crowd started booing him. And on the other hand, when Prince Harry and Meghan got out their car, the crowd cheered. So that's a little bit of context for you, but hundreds have gathered outside. I can see crowds 2, maybe 3, 4 deep lining the entire route of the cathedral, waving flags, Union flags, draping Union flags on the railings as well. And this is just day 2 of the Platinum Jubilee celebrations. We have another 2 days full of celebrations celebrating Her Majesty the Queen's 70 years. We've got the Epsom Derby tomorrow, which is horse racing, but none of Her Majesty the Queen's horses be racing. Her runner was taken out, I believe, yesterday or the day before, but it does give her a chance perhaps to go to Lilibet's birthday party, her first birthday. That's her great-granddaughter, who she has never met. That's Harry and Meghan's youngest daughter. There's also a concert on the Saturday night at Buckingham Palace, and a magnificent pageant is also expected in central London on Sunday. And here on GB News, we are throwing a massive Jubilee party on this Sunday in Codsall in Wolverhampton. So make sure you tune in on Sunday for a big Jubilee lunch.
Oh, yes, that sounds absolutely fantastic. I think I might turn up, actually. Well, look, thank you very, very much, Cameron. That's great to have you with us this morning, and indeed into the afternoon as well. Right at the scene of St Paul's, Cameron Walker there, our royal reporter now. Well, after the break, royal expert and friend of the channel, Rafe Haydelwine-Koo, is going to be joining us to discuss the traditions and the pageantry we've seen this Jubilee weekend so far. And I understand that I think we've seen the last of Starkey now. I think your duty is up.
I'm being demoted.
You are
thrown out into outer darkness.
Absolutely. Well, look,
I'll put up with it.
It's been an absolute pleasure
you too.
To share the studio with you so far today. And thank you so much for everything that you've done for us over the last couple of days here at GB News. But look, don't go anywhere because we'll be back very, very shortly.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices. With honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
We're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
That was lovely, wasn't it? It's 12:23. This is To The Point with me, Patrick Christie's on GB News, and we're live on your TV, online and radio this morning. Now, the service of Thanksgiving is being held right now in St Paul's Cathedral as part of ongoing Jubilee celebrations. Joining us now to discuss more is the royal commentator and broadcaster, Rafe Hayden-Wanku. Rafe, thank you very, very much. Great to have you on the show. I'll tell you what, you're the co-editor of Burke's Peerage, World Orders of Knighthood, the definitive guide to honours. I mean, you really kind of are the guru when it comes to all things royal. So thank you very much for joining us. The symbolism of today, really, is vast. I had David Starkey in earlier on, and he was saying that there's almost a bit of a symmetry to it as well when it comes to things like the choices of music, etc. What's your impression of the order of events?
Yes, no, absolutely. Well, as you said, you know, after the pomp and pageantry of Trooping the Colour yesterday, the state ceremonial continues today with this service, and it's a chance for the nation to give thanks, you know, because Westminster Abbey is the royal church. That's where the weddings and the coronations take place, and that's really under the control of the Queen. But St Paul's Cathedral today is when the nation can give their thanks. It's always been that way. That's why you've had all of the Jubilee services of Thanksgiving since Queen Victoria's time. She, like our own Queen, was too frail to climb the stairs, so she arrived in a carriage outside the west doors, and the service took place outside, around her on the steps. And then, of course, we first really saw the Queen in 1935 attending her grandfather's Silver Jubilee at St Paul's in 1935. This ceremony started with the great choral introit of I Was Glad, the magnificent coronation anthem that was written for King Edward VII, and that was sung 69 years and 1 day ago for the Queen's coronation in 1953, yesterday. But what's changed, is interesting, is that whilst the service of Thanksgiving used to really be the focal point of the Jubilee, you sort of get the feeling, as Britain has become less religious, that the service plays second fiddle to Trooping the Colour, the pageants, the party in the palace. But for the Queen, it's not, because she's still very much a person of faith, and she really believes that the coronation was a sacrament, like becoming a priest or getting married or your first communion. And it's a covenant between God and her and the people. And I think it's really important.
Sorry to interrupt, Rafe, just a quick one, but we are actually now starting to see the various royals there leaving St Paul's Cathedral. If you're listening to us on radio, of course, that's what's happening, basically, but you can see us online as well. So the royals and people are making their way out. So the service obviously is finished. But, Rafe, in terms of this and the general pageantry of it all, I mean, David Starkey said he was personally a little bit, not with this particular ceremony today, but more so with what was going on yesterday. He thought there'd be a bit more pomp and ceremony. What do you think?
Yes, well, it's rather interesting. You know, it's been reported, certainly in the Daily Mail and elsewhere, that the palace were keen not to seem to be over-egging this, which is a very strange thing. They didn't want to be aggrandising the Queen and the royalty. I mean, for heaven's sake, on a Platinum Jubilee, if you can't aggrandise and if you can't celebrate the Queen fully, they even said that they wanted to acknowledge anti-royalists. Well, my goodness, you know, we can accommodate royalists for 360 days of the year, but at least for these 4 or 5 days, let's let all focus be on the Queen. But, you know, we're going to have this great pageant, and there are going to be plenty of occasions for royalists to celebrate. But in terms of the true pomp and pageantry, slightly muted, I would say, on previous events.
And just to personalise it a little bit for you, Rafe, what was your highlight of the day yesterday?
I think for me, the highlight was seeing Her Majesty walk out onto that balcony where she had stood 69 years ago for her coronation on June the 2nd, 1953, and to recall that although we're celebrating 70 years of the Queen's reign, she's actually been part of British life for 96 years. That's a century. And we tend to think about our history in terms of centuries, and our collective memory is the past century, and the Queen has played a pivotal role or been present at all of the major milestones that we all can remember. She was on that balcony on May the 8th, 1945, with Winston Churchill to mark the end of the Second World War. And she is the only one left of the people that were on the balcony at that time. It's such a remarkable achievement. We really can't imagine our history without her playing some role in that. And I think that is remarkable to appreciate.
Oh, just unbelievable. And you hit on a really good point there, which is something I've been meaning to crowbar into the conversation all day so far, actually, which is about her, not political influence, I don't mean it like that, but the amount of people, politicians, presidents, for goodness sake, kings or the queens or whatever, that she's met and she's seen come and go over the course of the years, hasn't she? And she's been that kind of anchor in a storm, hasn't she?
Absolutely. Well, if you think about it, our monarchy is about 1,000 years old, if you go back to William the Conqueror. She has experienced 1/10 of that. That's remarkable, 1/10 of our monarchical history. 14 prime ministers in this country, many more Canadian prime ministers she's met. I don't know whether she's met Joe Biden or not, but she's met every president apart from Lyndon Johnson. Absolutely remarkable. And she's been that constant, We had to transition from her reign, from being an imperial power to being a second-tier power. And it was the trappings of monarchy that actually helped to avoid the social strife and the rioting that you saw in France, for example, when they went through the same thing. Somehow having the state opening of Parliament and all the royal pomp and pageantry made us feel grounded. The monarchy and the Queen were sort of that rock that grounded us and let us realise, yes, the world may be changing very rapidly around us, but there are some things we can look to for a sense of self, a sense of identity, of constancy.
Absolutely. And we are just watching now, that was Mike Tyndall, Zara Phillips, several others as well, leaving St Paul's Cathedral. And Rafe, I want you to explain to me, please, there seems to be a lot of pink. There's a lot of very vibrant pink colours there. Is there a particular reason behind that?
Well, all I can think of is, for Her Majesty's Silver Jubilee, she wore pink. And I'm sort of wondering whether there's a connection there. Beyond that, I can't say, because it's something that I've noticed too. Even on the gentleman, there you see the Earl of St Andrews there.
Yes.
Even his tie is pink.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, maybe they just like the colour, but there we go. No, look. Thank you very, very much, Rafe. It's been brilliant to have you on the show as always, and thank you for all the work that you've been doing for us. And no doubt this will not be the last that we hear of you in the coming days. It's Rafe Hadelman-Kuda, of course. Yes, OK, lots of you have been getting in touch, excuse me, there we go, to say why you are so grateful for the Queen, because, of course, today was the national service for the Thanksgiving of the Queen. So, yes, look, loads of people say you're very, very grateful for her helping to keep the Union together. And I do wonder about that, whether or not there's a lot of people up there north of the border in Scotland for whom the Queen actually really is a symbol. And, of course, we see it lots in the Commonwealth, don't we, when you think about it? We have massive conversations. I've had conversations on this channel almost once a week about whether or not, sadly, when the Queen passes away, whether or not the Commonwealth is going to stick together in the way that it is, whether or not it's going to still be the head of state from Buckingham Palace, or whether or not they're going to change that. GBViews at gbnews.uk. And someone says, I hope this isn't true, by the way, but someone has just sent me in Robin Hove, a picture. We're talking about the beacons. I thought it was fabulous yesterday when the beacons, that bloke with a flaming arrow fired it off, it lands on a pontoon, it erupts in flames, and we're away, aren't we, ladies and gentlemen, after that? The beacons are going up and down the country. Well, in Hove, I don't know if this is true, we'll have to wait and see, but Rob says thousands of us went to see the beacon lit on Hove seafront, but apparently they said that the Green Council banned a live flame and all we got was a few glow sticks. I really hope that isn't true, Rob. I really hope you're only pulling my leg. But anyway, there we go. After the break, our regional reporters Anna Riley and Will Hollis give us a look at how people up and down the country are celebrating the Jubilee and toasting Her Majesty's service.
It's 12:32. I'm Olivia Guthrie in the GB newsroom. A national service of Thanksgiving has been held at St Paul's Cathedral as part of the Jubilee celebrations. Members of the royal family arrived after the bell ringing, greeted by loud cheers from the public. Prince Harry and Meghan appearing with the Windsors for the first time since moving to the States. They arrived ahead of Prince William and Kate. They were followed shortly afterwards by Prince Charles and Camilla for the service, which honoured the Queen and her 70-year reign. Her Majesty was absent after experiencing some discomfort yesterday. She watched on television from Windsor Castle. In other news, UK intelligence shows Russia now controls more than 90% of Luhansk in eastern Ukraine. On the 11th day of the war, the Ministry of Defence is warning Moscow could have complete control of the region in the next 2 weeks. After abandoning its assault on the capital, Kyiv, Russian forces are now focusing on the east and south of the country. The US president is urging Congress to ban assault weapons and expand background checks in the wake of another mass shooting. 4 people, including 2 doctors, were killed when a gunman opened fire at a hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma yesterday. Last week, a teenager shot dead 19 children and 2 teachers at a school in Uvalde, Texas. And during a racially motivated attack, 10 people were killed in Buffalo, in New York. The government has confirmed it wants to ditch what it's calling overbearing EU rules about imperial measurements. It's launched a consultation which may give traders more freedom to use pounds and ounces instead of kilos and grams when selling goods in future. TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV,
On radio, on digital.
Absolutely everywhere. We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We're not part of the establishment.
We're one of you. And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, the comedy panel show that's just like the news, in that the left fights the right and it doesn't really seem to matter who wins. We cover the big stories. It was in fact a troop of baboons and not angry vegans.
I like that.
And the really important stories.
Fat naked cow gets stuck in swimming pool.
It's a headline in a lot of local newspapers. Yeah.
we're on the same team, Nick. Yeah, but I'm just helping you.
Join us for Ministry of Defence, Saturday nights, 8 o'clock on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello, everybody. It's 12:36. This is To The Point with me, Patrick Christie's, on GB News, live on your TV, online and radio this morning. Now, as the nation celebrates our Queen on her Platinum Jubilee, Pontefract in West Yorkshire is getting into the swing of the Jubilee celebrations. So, Pontefract Civic Society have spent 9 months planning and working towards the Jubilee. At the Town Hall, they've replicated the 3 arches built in 1911 for the coronation of King George V and Queen Mary, with 9 schools involved in the work. Well, our very own reporter Anna Riley has the story and joins us now. Good morning, Anna.
Yes, I'm here in Pontefract where the Jubilee celebrations are in full swing, and I'm joined by Phil Cook. He is the Vice Chair of Pontefract Civic Society, and he joins us in this magnificent looking 1950s car. Tell us about this and what the plans are for the Jubilee and what's going on in Pontefract.
Morning. Well, this is a 1931 Model A4 truck, and it's one of the vehicles we've got on display tomorrow in Pontefract, in this area. We've got around 25 vehicles, including motorbikes, coming in, and this is just one of part of the celebrations we've had for Pontefract, which has been a fantastic community effort and really brought the community together. This is actually a vehicle which resides in Pontefract, from a Pontefract resident. Who would have known we have quality vehicles like this in Pontefract? It's absolutely fantastic when we've got so many vehicles and local people helping with the celebrations. It's unbelievable.
It really is, and like you say, there's been that real community spirit here, hasn't there, bringing everyone together. Yes. And what does the Jubilee mean to you and the royal family? Because you've met them, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I was fortunate to be invited to Buckingham Palace a number of years ago to celebrate an award with my daughter received, and I met the Princess Anne, or the Princess Royal, I should say, again in Bradford a few years later as well, during an opening of an official building of St John Ambulance. So I've met them a few times, so it's really good to have some very, very tentative connection to the actual events.
And what has the Jubilee done for Pontefract? It's brought people together, certainly, hasn't it?
The amazing things, what's happening in Pontefract, we've got 74 different things happening in Pontefract. Some of them online, some of them are private events, but there's at least 40 public events been happening over the week. We started our celebrations back in February 6 on Accession Day, and we've gone out from there going forward, and we're looking for lasting legacies. Hopefully, if tomorrow's a success with the car show, we can turn this into an annual event in the middle of town, supporting businesses. Business support's been fantastic. We've had all the schools involved, one way or the other, community groups. It's absolutely unbelievable the amount of people who's come out and celebrated it. And if you look around the town, you know, the business has gone to town on the decorations. We've got over 80 flags put up by the decoration squad in Pontefract. The decoration squad started in 2019, and we won the best town dress for Tour de Yorkshire. And they keep going, working, you know, just keep going. Massive displays in town, and we've actually got the corgis on the pub's balconies, so it's brilliant.
Definitely. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Phil. And if you are in the area, it's certainly worth coming and looking at these amazing classic cars. And there's a 1950s show on in the castle as well, which we'll be coming to you with later.
Oh, there we go. Thank you very much, Anna. Yes, I've just been reminded. So I usually do the show to the point 10 until 12. So I only ever say, good morning, people. Good morning, everybody. Been reminded that it's afternoon. So good afternoon, everybody. Anyway, wherever you are in the country, of course, if you step outside today, you'll probably hear the sound of bells ringing in your local church's tower. And this is to mark the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Thousands of ringers will play in honour of her incredible reign. And our reporter, Will Hollis, sent us this report from All Saints Church in Kempston in Bedfordshire earlier this morning.
Well, no matter where you are in the country right now, it's very likely that you'll be hearing sounds just like that coming from your local church. It's not just your villages, it's not just your town churches. It is, of course, those big cathedrals as well, all across the country, ringing their bells in celebration of Her Majesty the Queen's 70 years sitting on the throne. But where we are in Kempston in Bedfordshire, there's one very special man who's been doing this for so long. He's managed to do it for every single one of the Queen's special celebrations. So that's for the coronation in 1952, the silver, golden, jubilee and diamond jubilees as well. And he's up right now inside of the church here at All Saints, celebrating the Queen. And he says, despite being 91 in just a couple of days' time, he won't be stopping this anytime soon because it's so important to him, and it's so important that he can do things like this for the royalty and Her Majesty the Queen. Cliff, just take me back to when you first rang the bells for Queen Elizabeth in 1952.
Right, well, what I remember about it, it rained all day, I do remember that, and all the ringers arrived on bicycles. There were no cars amongst the band in those days, and not many people lived around about by the church, and Kempston's a very spread out village, and we all came on bikes. But apart from that, I don't remember. Well, the other thing is that we had a celebration party, I suppose it was, in the village square outside the school there, where there was a beer barrel set up in the school, and everybody had a jolly time.
And it's 70 years of the Platinum Jubilee. You're 90 years old, turning 91 in just a couple of weeks. Yeah. I don't think the Queen is going to be putting her crown down anytime soon. Do you think you'll stop ringing anytime soon?
No, I don't think I'll stop. I don't plan to stop anyway. But you never know what's going to round the corner.
Tremendous report that from Will Hollis. Thank you very, very much. Now, yesterday, Mercy and I celebrated the Queen's 70th Jubilee in some style. We went to the Royal Standard of England pub, which dates back over 950 years and is the oldest free house in England. It's in Beaconsfield, which I can say as well, it was the best pub I've ever been to in my life. We spoke to the owner, had some delicious food, shared a few beers with some of the locals in the area. Let's see what happened. There really is only one way to travel on Jubilee Day, ladies and gentlemen. We have to arrive in style. It's what our Queen would have wanted. You can't get more British than this. We've got the old Jag and we've got Mercy wearing our Union Jack. Right, I think I'm going to hop out if I can. There we go. OK, yes, here we are. And we're at the oldest cruiser in Britain. I think I should do the gentlemanly thing, shouldn't I, really?
Please, if you may.
I feel like James Bond. OK, here we go. After you.
I'll try and do this very classily.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
You're very welcome. Right, OK, well, here we are, of course, at the oldest free house in England. Let's go and get some good British grub, shall we?
Yeah, good idea.
Is the inside of the Royal Standard of England. It's absolutely incredible. You're going to love this. We're currently inside a ship, aren't we?
Yes, everywhere you look, there is just a piece of history. I mean, you just have to look around the place and you just feel British.
I'm resisting the urge at the moment, but I'm not sure how long that's going to last. Let's turn it on round, Pibs, and have a look at what we've got going on in here.
Yeah.
This place is going to be rammed later.
Absolutely. They're expecting lots of customers. Of course, people are going to be out celebrating. Just look again at how much history there is around here. You've got some interesting decor there, animal-wise. Something looking like basil brush.
The skeleton up there as well.
Skeleton up there, Donald Trump's wig here. And who other than the Queen? Beautiful, isn't she?
So we arrived in style, but now, of course, we've got to test the produce, haven't we? So I've got a pie. It's a proper pie, proper British pie. It's got pastry all the way around it. What have you got?
I have a pork belly, because anybody who watches our show regularly knows that I love my pork, so I can't wait to get stuck into this.
Yes, indeed. And Matthew's back with us here, of course, the landlord here at the Royal Standard of England, which is a fantastic place, the best pub I've ever been to. So just talk me through what's on your menu and the history of this place.
Sunday roast on a Sunday is a massive day for us. We can do 400 covers lunchtime, which is a lot to get through. But overall, it's the fish and chips that sells the most.
The food's been absolutely magnificent, OK? I've heard other people tell me that the beer's nice as well. Of course, the company's brilliant, the management's excellent, but you know what's the best thing about it? Pub dogs. Let's have a look. Right, so, hello. Who's this little person? What's your dog called?
Maisie.
Maisie? How old's Maisie?
A 1.
Do you think Maisie likes the Queen?
I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, good. Do you think she's a good royalist dog?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
She thinks she's a princess, so definitely royal.
She is a princess. Right, well, tell you what, from one princess to another, ladies and gentlemen, let's do it this way. Come on. Yes, here we go. Oh, my gosh, this could be dog of the day. Right. Hello, how are you? What's your dog called?
Luna.
Luna? And how old is Luna?
Luna's 4 months.
4 months? Look at Luna. Yes, get in. And what breed is Luna?
She's an XL bully.
An XL bully?
Yeah.
Gosh, she doesn't look like much of a bully to me.
No, she's a softie.
And do you think Luna knows it's the Jubilee and it's a very special day?
We've got bunting everywhere. She knows. She knows it's
the Jubilee.
She knows.
Yes, absolutely good stuff. Well, Luna obviously is fantastic. I think, but a bit exhausted from all this celebrating, all the partying we've been doing here. What a lovely dog. Luna, are you all right? What's your dog called?
Molly.
Molly? Polly?
Molly.
Molly. Hello, Molly. How are you? Are you okay? And what breed is Molly?
Molly is a golden doodle, half golden retriever, half poodle.
Golden doodle?
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
She thinks the whole world should adore her.
Well, I think the whole world probably does, actually. Do you think that Molly loves the Queen?
I think very, very definitely she thinks she is the Queen.
Okay, that's a bit like going about. I tell you what, you are absolutely gorgeous. Right, okay, I think we can all agree that's enough pub dogs for now. See you in a bit. Here's the chef, Alex, good lad. How are you?
How are we doing? You alright?
Good. Right, talk us through each dish, mate.
So we've got chicken and mushroom and leek pie.
Yeah.
Served with savoy cabbage and mashed potato.
Yeah, what's this one?
This is sous vide lamb shoulder, roasted on the sous vide on the bone with dauphinoise potato, lamb jus and cabbage again.
OK, well, we've done the pies, we're all right. Let's go for the fish and chips.
Classic fish and chips. We're known for it around here. It's pretty famous. Mushy peas, tartar sauce, lemon, and then we've got garlic and sugar.
These little guys.
Tiger prawns.
Tiger prawns, fantastic.
Yeah.
Right, I think it's time for a bit of an anti-pasty board, isn't it? I'm absolutely ravenous. This is all for me, by the way. Mercy's not getting her hands on it. So, what's this?
So this is our charcuterie board. We've got mortadella, salami, prosciutto, chorizo, served with a chicken liver parfait, pork roulette.
Keep up the good work, mate, and I'd just like to say thank you very much, because he's been absolutely top sport, this lad, all day. It's been great. The food's completely brilliant, and to be honest with you, what a way to celebrate the Jubilee. Absolutely unbelievable that I was actually allowed to go and do that yesterday, and that's how I spent the Jubilee. I will never forget that particular day. It was so fantastic and so nice to be a proper British pub with, you know, a lot of very proud Brits as well there. But anyway, it has been 70 years since Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, became Queen. And as we celebrate her Platinum Jubilee, we celebrate a lifetime of public service and commitment. Charitable and community work are at the core of the royal family's duties, and a public servant as dedicated as Her Majesty is very rare to find. In 1952, when she became Queen, she also became patron of girl guiding, after joining herself in 1937 at age 11. Well, joining me now is Emma Guthrie, Assistant Chief Guide with Girl Guiding. Thank you very much for joining us. It must be amazing to be part of something that the Queen cares so passionately about as well.
Yes, it definitely is, and it's so exciting celebrating her this weekend as well, and so many of our members are taking part in events and lighting beacons and doing activities in their meeting places as well. So yeah, it feels a really special weekend for us too.
Have you ever personally met her?
I have met her. I did. Yeah. I met her at Holyrood Palace at one of her garden parties. I was there with some other volunteers, and we were in our uniform. And so one of her ladies in waiting came up and asked if we would like to go and meet her. So we got the opportunity to chat to her about some of the international opportunities that we'd given girls over the years.
Were you allowed to say what the conversation was like with her? Did she crack a joke or anything?
Well, so one of the other volunteers that I was with had been camping in Norway, and it was absolutely freezing in Edinburgh, but I think it was probably even colder in Norway, and she'd flown back to go to the garden party. And so we'd mentioned that to Her Majesty, who seemed to think that it would be very, very cold to camp in Norway. And so I don't think there was any chance that she was going to go and get her camping gear and join us.
Oh, but that's so nice, though. It's such a sweet story to be able to say. But what is it about girl guiding, do you think, that the Queen likes? I know she obviously became a girl guide aged 11, but what is it about the whole thing for you?
I think she obviously has that connection, and as so many of our members and girls know, that really can stay with you throughout your life. Being part of an organisation like Girl Guiding can really become a part of your identity and stay with you. So I think that's an element of it. But also the ethos behind Girl Guiding is really about community and about empowering girls and giving them adventures and opportunities. And a lot of the work that the royal family does in their various charities or organisations is similar in that way. And I think that's part of the connection.
Well, look, I would really like to say how grateful I am for you coming on the show, actually, especially at such short notice. It's a really, really great thing to be able to do, I think, isn't it? Well, look, thank you so much. That was Emma Guthrie, their Assistant Chief Guide with Girl Guides, who's just talking about the Queen and the fact that this is the Queen's kind of, I suppose, favourite, one of her favourite girl guide, one of her favourite things to do as well. Of course, I was actually at Cubs for a while. You know, when you're trying to become a scout, right? And I was just absolutely terrible at it. I never even got any of the badges, and I never even managed to actually get above the Cub issue. So anyway, there we go. Right, I'm just going to finish with some views now. For the moment, GBViews at gbnews.uk. Patrick, I would like to thank the Queen because I was born on her birthday, not the same year, may I add, but I remember being bullied at school, and I retaliated by saying, I share the Queen's birthday, so leave me alone. And they did. In fact, I made more friends and the bullies left me alone. I tell you what, that's an interesting story, isn't it? Because I was asking you all to get in touch with me and tell me why you are grateful for the Queen, because there's a national service of Thanksgiving. And I really wanted to know what you were all so grateful about. And it turns out this one, that Avril, basically says that the Queen's responsible for her making loads of friends at school. I think that's a really, really nice, touching one. I'd like to say a big thank you to the Queen for allowing David Starkey back onto our television. That's from Thomas. I was joined for, well, basically the vast majority of the show, essentially, by David Starkey. A historian, royal historian. He's written more than 20 books about the royal family, and he doesn't mince his words, does he? He's essentially got a quick wit on him. You wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of David Starkey. Some people have been sending in also pictures of their beacons now. So we were having a chat, weren't we, about whether or not the beacons were a good idea. I thought they were absolutely lovely. I thought it was stunning, and I think what a way to kick-start that kind of beacon parade, I suppose you could call it. The lighting of the beacons right down the length of the country, culminating, of course, in Her Majesty the Queen. We can see some pictures of it now, pressing that ball, and then the lighting in front of her, you know, really lighting up and culminating in what was a tremendous, tremendous day. And the way that it started, as far as I could tell anyway, was a bloke in a kilt with a massive flaming arrow firing one onto a pontoon, and then it just erupted and it kick-started it all. And I just thought that was magnificent. But it wasn't magnificent for everybody, because people are sending in now loads of pictures of their disappointing beacons. Hashtag disappointing beacon is going to start trending, I think, on Twitter. Apparently, Tameside Hospital have been granted a beacon. They decided to keep it eco, right? And they've just done it with a blue light and a flashing red light around it. Although I suppose, you know, the merits maybe of having a massive flame outside a hospital are questionable. But yes, there we go. And lots of people as well are saying that in Hove it was just glow sticks. But there we are. I'm not sure about that one particularly. But anyway, lots of you getting in touch as well to congratulate our very own Dame Arlene Foster. Yeah, that's right, Dame Arlene Foster. Yes, of this very parish, the former First Minister of Northern Ireland was named in the Queen's honours list. And of course, I think we can all say a massive come on, Arlene. Well done, everybody, for that. A lot of you saying that as well. You've just really enjoyed the coverage on GB News here over the last few days. And I just want to say thank you, actually, very much. Thank you very much, because especially if we're a relatively new channel, you get such a big occasion as this one. It's important that we get it right. And so many of you have emailed in gbviews@gbnews.uk to tell us that we did just that. But, of course, it's not over here for us. Far from it. No, not at all. We're going to be with you all the way through for the remaining 2 days, 2.5 days, of the Jubilee celebrations. And we really want to know as well, keep these views coming in, gbviews@gbnews.uk, as to exactly why you are thankful for our Queen, because it was, of course, the service of Thanksgiving today. Now, I will actually be back later on for Friday Night Feast. It's a show with a slightly different twist to it this week, it must be said, and that's going to be 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. So that's 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. for Friday Night Feast. Look, there's been a lot of very serious news going on at the moment, hasn't there? There's been a lot of course, as well, you know, pageantry and pomp and ceremony and all of this stuff. But I'll tell you what, we're still going to try and kickstart your Friday night and kickstart your weekend later, 7 until 9 p.m. right here on GB News for Friday Night Feast. Oh, wait a second, hang on. What's that? There's 2 dogs running around outside here. There's two corgis just running around the office. This must be something to do with Liam Halligan's show, surely. Well, there you go. He'll be on very, very shortly. Liam Halligan even, easy for me to say. And apparently 2 corgis. There we go. What could go wrong, hey, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for everyone who's tuned into this marathon stint of the To The Point show today. 3 whole hours of it. I've loved every second. I'll see you later. Well, we're looking ahead to today's weather, and the UK is looking, yep, that's right, showery across Northern Ireland, southwest Scotland, northwest England and North Wales this morning. But generally brighter elsewhere. Let's take a look at those details. So by noon, much of the southwest of England will hold on to dry weather, although Cornwall and West Devon will have the best of the sunshine with more cloud around further east. So the southeast will also be generally fine, and here there'll be some warm spells of hazy sunshine lifting temperatures into the low 20s. We're going to go over now to Wales, and the showers will affect some parts of northern Wales, but more southern areas could end up mostly dry today, albeit with a fair amount of cloud around. The Midlands now, they will see quite a bit of cloud, and there'll be an increasing chance of 1 or 2 showers breaking out. Nonetheless, it'll be fairly warm. To the northeast now, and in parts of the northeast, England will also have a few showers, and although it will be drier and locally brighter towards the coast, there'll be a cool breeze blowing in off the North Sea. The far east of the far east and northeast of Scotland will be rather cloudy and cool, whilst southwestern areas have showers. For central and northwestern areas, though, it's looking fine with some warm sunshine. A few bright spells are likely across Northern Ireland, but there'll also be a scattering of showers, giving a rather changeable theme to the weather here. During the afternoon and early evening, showers will continue in the west. Elsewhere, it will be mainly dry with some sunshine.